The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at netsn.live.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to bEast from the East. We got week 6 ahead. We're already almost halfway through the season. I can't believe we're already here. It's your host, Mr. NETSN, Brett Swinney. Today, we got joining us Jared Peoples and Jeremy Diamond. Welcome, fellas.
What's up, man? Week 6 already. It's crazy.
I know we're basically halfway through. This is kind of week 6 is the hump week, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely feels weird to be this many weeks in already. It feels like we just started a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and so it feels weird to already be in week 6.
Man, just and we've done so many games. This week's kind of I'd say a light slate of games for us, as far as there's a lot of bye weeks this week. This is halfway through. A lot of teams, some teams have started district, but I think everybody will start over the next couple of weeks. Like if they've got a 6-team district, they're probably starting next week and taking that bye right now. Some of the 7-team districts of 8-team districts have already started, so kind of getting it down to where all those games mean something. And this pick'em last week, I don't know who made these pick'ems games. They did
murder's row, dude.
Tough job, man. Made it almost too tough. Going to our results for the leaderboard this week, we had the number one points was 7 out of 10. Like, you barely passed that 70%. That was first place. Then maybe we need to do what is that scale, Jeremy? You
need the square root, the bell curve, or
bell curve. Yeah, we need a bell curve these a little bit.
Or maybe a square root curve. You take your percent and then square root it and then multiply it by 10 something.
In everyone's defense, though, this was probably one of the strangest weeks. I remember last year we had a week like this too, but it was just an odd week, you know. Just
my Jefferson pick looked great for almost the whole game, and then Gladewater says not so fast. I mean, there's just some of those weird ones like that, or it was just a crazy week. And
so just looking up here at the board, we had 7 people pick 7 out of 10. So shout out to them. I mean, only 7 got 7 out of 10. So that shows you a lot right there. You had Adam Fox, Doug Montgomery, Haley Beaton, Jake Munoz, Jason Darrow, and Kyle Owens. That sounds familiar. He's not even here today.
One time he's up on the top and he didn't even show up to pat himself on the back.
I know. And Scott Poole. I'm sure we'll hear about it though. But shout out to those individuals, and we'll give them our normal applause for those that got the top score of the week. Let's see. I was right there. I had 6. So did Brandon Ogden. I see Mr. Grubbs, who was our leader after last week, is right there. See Conrad as well. My brother Drew is there. I don't see you guys, or where y'all at?
I'm 31st with Cinco.
Wait. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah.
I see a Darren Peoples. I don't even see Jaron Peoples. Where's he? Oh, wait, there's Jaron. Okay.
I'm there with 5. I'm there.
Y'all had 5. I'm sorry, guys. That was.
Hey, but listen, if you go to the overall leaderboard, your boy is still in the top 10.
We haven't gotten there. You haven't gotten there yet, but
I know. I'm just saying. I got. It was a bad week, but thankfully it was a week that everybody busted, so I didn't lose much ground.
Yeah, I thought actually when I started seeing the scores, I was like, "Ooh, I'm about to take a drop," and then in essence, I actually gained on a lot of folks this week because I still got and in my defense, I lost a pick that I had to pick, my team, and so they didn't do well, so that hurt me. 2 weeks in a row, I've gone with my heart and my blue and gold out of my veins, and it's cost me 2 picks. But leaderboard wise, still I'm in 3rd place. Let's see, Chad Grubbs is in 1st there with 39. Doug Montgomery is in 2nd with 38, and then we got a 3-way tie with me, Jake Munoz, which me and Jake have some beef because his Lindale Eagles beat my Bulldogs last week, so he was on the chat making sure I knew about it. But shout out to Jake there, and then Jonathan Bradshaw there in 3rd. Let's see. Oh yeah, there you are, Jeremy. You're right behind us there in 6th place technically. Brandon in the top 8 along with Conrad. I'm looking for Jaron. I don't see you, Jaron. Do I need to get some binoculars?
Long season. That's all I gotta say. It's a long
season. You said that last year too.
I did.
Don't call it a comeback.
I want to see though. We got the battle. Let's see. We got. Oh, there you are. You're
still
on page
above my brother.
You're on page 2. Let's see. Kyle has separated himself from you a little bit. He's up to 17th there at 34. And let's see. You are ahead of your brother, right?
Yeah, I am ahead of my brother.
Okay. Well, that's the important part. You don't want to lose the win battle. That'd be rough, especially since you're the one doing all these games. He's not. But yeah, so we got a pretty good competition at that top of the board. So still, again, we're about halfway through the season, so make sure you get your picks in each week. And let's talk about some of these games now after we have the results. But guys, this was one of the more interesting weeks that we've had. I mean, I was looking around. I was like, this isn't Halloween yet, is it? Because we have a Friday night Halloween week. I hate to see what happens on Halloween, but this week was very, very strange. Of course, what's not strange, pick game 1, Westwood Panthers. They took care of business as they beat Mildred. And so I think that was one. To me, you had 71 out of 75 picked that. I was surprised it was that, just because Mildred's been one of those teams that, hasn't lost and thought they might be able to compete. Westwood has struggled a few games. They had a couple of teams that kept them within a score or 2. I thought this might be a tighter game, but Westwood said, no, not so fast. They handled business really well and got a nice win. I believe it was that score. That was it was a pretty good win here. I'm trying to find that score on my list. Where is it? I missed that game. I can't find it. Y'all have that score? So I've had it and I lost it.
63-25 Westwood. So yeah,
there you go. Game. There you go. I knew it was a big win. I just couldn't find the score. But yeah, that's an interesting game. What do you guys think of that spread?
Yeah, I think again, I no one's streamed that game, so I wasn't able to watch it or anything. But if I had to guess, it's probably just it came down to speed. That's something that Westwood has, and so I think where Mildred I think can really do some damage in the trenches, and they're kind of that smash mouth 2A ball. I think Westwood may have just taken advantage of some speed in the athletes they have, particularly on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I was not that Westwood would win. I think that was my, obviously most of us picked that, but I didn't think the spread was going to be quite that big. But again, we haven't seen Corsicana and Mildred play, so it's hard to know sometimes in those kind of games what's happening. But I thought it was a big win for Westwood, and I think we're going to kind of that's going to shake up some things. I think we'll talk in a minute about how that'll change some things probably in our polls, maybe solidify some things in the polls with that win, but it was a huge win.
All right. Well, game 2, another kind of statement win is I think Elysian Fields has kind of solidified themselves in that district as they beat Beckville 48-21. I had Elysian Fields along with most everyone. We had 7 that picked Beckville. And Beckville's a team now, they're 2-3. How far are they going to drop in this district? You've got still Wascom there, as they got a big win this week, and then you've got Elysian Fields. I mean, they may be sliding down 3 or 4 now.
I think Elysian Fields and Union Grove have been the biggest surprises in this district, right? And I mean, it's been such a fun. I mean, as they're in the second week of district play because they're a big district, and it's been fun to just kind of see, because this was a district we talked a lot about. Obviously, we cover Big Sandy, and it's just a lot of teams right here in our area. So we talked a lot about it in the preview show, and it's really flipping around now. Still, obviously, a lot of season left, but we felt Wascom pretty secure in that top spot, which they are obviously still in for. But Elysian Fields and Union Grove sounds like they may have something to say about that, right? And so. And then you had team, we weren't even sure Elysian Fields were going to get in,
Mm-hmm.
And then Hawkins has kind of been up and down. They've had some weeks where they've just had some real impressive win, and then some week, was the last week. I think it was like, man, that they had a rough one. So yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see this district because they start district play so early. I think it's going to be a district that comes down to a lot of tiebreaker types, situations as well. So,
Jeremy, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Elysian Fields is a team I kind of had my eye on, and I think a team that's going to probably continue to climb in the polls. And I mean, I think that it was an impressive statement by them. Again, Beckville may not be what they were last year, but it's still a good team, and it's still a team you need to beat in your slate. And so I think it's a big win for Elysian Fields, and I think they've got another big one coming up this week, I think. And so, I mean, that's the interesting thing about this district is there are a few teams. There's a decent amount of teams that have a shot, and so it'll be fun to see how everything shakes out. And like Jaron said, I think there's a strong chance we kind of have to do some coin flips and some, a lot of math in there, right? Somebody with a slide rule doing some stuff to figure out who's where at the end of this thing.
And I think what's interesting too is or what I've heard is what Coach Maines has done there in Elysian Fields. It's really kind of electrified that whole community in that school. Something that Elysian Fields has battled with for a long time is losing students. There's a lot of students that kind of, travel in between that Wascom, Beckville, Elysian Fields kind of circle there. And so that's kind of been the battle for a lot of the coaches, is just keeping kids. And it sounds like Coach Maines so far has really done a great job. And it really all starts with Nunu Kennedy. I mean, he had 6 touchdowns this past week, and I mean, he's one of there's a lot of them. Yeah. He takes 2. Yeah. And so, and I think he's even playing some under the quarterback position. So, I mean, it's just, but it's not just him. Lawson's done well, and some other guys have really stepped up. And so, it's really done a lot for that little community. And this one now, and we'll talk about it coming up, but this will be a big week for them.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, Nunu Kennedy, I think he saw what Kagan Ash did at Mount Enterprise and said, oh, well, if you can score 54, I'm going to see if I can get at least 48, right? Or 36 or, whatever. I think he was trying to keep pace there. And so, I mean, again, there's some outstanding athletes in this area, and he's no doubt one of the top premier guys in this area at the skill position. And he's going to continue to show that off, I think, in this district.
Well, and you thought that was those two games were, I guess, maybe surprising by the margin, but the next one surprising by the score, as Gladewater over Jefferson. I did not see this coming. They win 28-27, and Jeremy, we've seen Gladewater a few times, and there is talent there. We saw them at an impressive win over New Diana, and then kind of fiddle faddly around and give West Rusk an opportunity to win the game, and a game they probably should have won there in Gladewater. But what a statement win to open district play with a win over Jefferson, a team that we've picked to win district preseason. We all kind of consensus thought that's Jefferson's district. I'll even go on a limb and say I believe KO, he picked them to go to the state championship game to play Westwood, I believe.
We both did. We both had Jefferson at least making it to the quarters.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still possible, but I've been riding this Jefferson train as long as I could. But I text KO Friday night. I was like, man, what happened to our buddy Bill Bullies, man? He's like, dude, I don't know. And now I'm super happy for Coach Lewis and Gladewater. Man, and it's a team that we were covering a lot. I'll get to see him in a couple of weeks, and I'm super excited, especially anytime a first-year coach can come in and really make a great impact and turn the team around. Same thing with Coach Hofstetler up in Pittsburgh. But I'm just like, man, what's going on? Because I love Coach Taylor. I know they've got athletes. So I'm just, man, what is going on? And it's not like they're not getting blown out. I mean, their other loss was against Newton, right, which is a powerhouse program. So it's not like they're just getting embarrassed or anything. But it's just it's surprising.
Yeah, I think when we, you and I were together Friday night, Brett, and we were looking at the score early, and we're like, okay, Jefferson's kind of, it kind of looked like Jefferson was going to get that thing. And then I was on the way home, and I got the alert, and I was like, Brett, did you see the score of that Jefferson game? Like, Gladewater came back and won it by 1, and it was just kind of a crazy, I didn't see it coming. And again, we hadn't looked in a few minutes, but, when you looked at the game, you didn't think that Gladewater was going to be able to come back, and they did, and it was kind of a crazy.
And I think the impressive thing was that was on the road in Jefferson. Yeah. I mean, that's an impressive road win for Gladewater.
Well, and think about what this does for you for district, right? Like, you're only one game in, but you go against the number one team, the predicted number one team in the district, and you win in that way. Just an exciting game that came down to the wire, a 1-point game. Now you can't obviously take your foot off the gas, but that really, instantly puts him kind of in a driver's seat position for this district, which is a really competitive district.
Yeah. And I think too, what I see is I see a lot of this team beat this team, and then this team beat this team, and then this team beat this team. And it's like you could map your way all the way around. I mean, I haven't really, put it to paper yet, but I would be interested to see kind of, if you could trace it and go all the way back, and they would be a big circle. Because I feel like that's the way it seems, because you've had a team like Jefferson beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's had some big wins. Gladewater lost to West Rusk. West Rusk goes and beats Tatum for the first time in forever. You've got Gladewater then goes – it's just super crazy. And then you have – we'll get to it in a minute. There's some other teams that were rolling, and all of a sudden they just hit a wall and took an L. And so I don't know. It's just all in a big shakeup. We had 14 people that picked Gladewater to win this game. So shout out to you if you picked Gladewater. It was not me. I lost this game, and I think all of us had Jefferson as well. But shout out to Coach Lewis, man. I love Coach Lewis and what he's doing there. I got a chance to talk to him a few times. So we get to cover them a little bit this year, and so, they're basically a non-kneel play away from being 5-0. I mean, they don't kneel that ball right before the half there instead of spiking it. They probably at least get 3 points there and get that win over West Rusk. But shout out to Coach Lewis. He's got him rolling right now. And Yeah, I think the next game for me it's going to be interesting to see is how they look against the likes of Atlanta and Liberty Allo. We've all been talking about Jefferson all year, but you still got that district is still up for grabs. You can't just say, "Oh, we beat Jefferson" and just pack it in. With week per week, there's a good teams up there.
Yeah, no. Now I think Liberty Allo's pretty down this year, or at least it seems so far. I mean,
well, look who they played though. I mean, they played a schedule,
tough non-district schedule, absolutely, absolutely, and they're still, I mean, very much in it, right? I mean, we're just one game in, but the game this week, and we'll talk about it when we do our pickups for this week. But that Atlanta and Jefferson game could be real interesting, right? Because if you're Jefferson and you fall 0-2 in district, man, that's going to be a tough hill to climb.
All right, game 4, Grapeland versus Overton, and Grapeland went in as the underdog somehow in this game. I don't know how. I had Grapeland; they got the win. I just thought that what I'd seen from Grapeland as far as their losses were quality. Like they played a little bit tougher schedule than what Overton had played, and Grapeland was able to get the win over Overton. And Jaron, I know you're an Overton guy. I know you probably had Overton winning, but I mean, I thought the game was pretty close. I thought it might be a little bit bigger win for Grapeland, but they held them. It was a 10-point win. So what does that tell you for Overton the rest of the year?
Yeah, now it was at Overton and it was homecoming, so a lot of times that's a little bit extra there. And in each week, we were able to do them the 3 weeks prior, consistently. And each week we saw, particularly offensively, we saw some consistency and some improvement each week especially on the offensive side of the ball, which was really good. I think I'd picked Overton. I think what I was a little confused by is because of how bad Grapeland got beat by Frankston. But I think more than anything, that tells us how good this Frankston team is. And we'll talk about them with the polls. But, I mean, I had Overton, but, I could have gone either way on it because Grapeland was a good team. Now, the other reason I went with Overton is because Grapeland, that's who eliminated Overton last year, third round of the playoffs. And so I thought maybe there's going to be a little bit of revenge retaliation, on their minds, right? So,
Jeremy, what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I picked Overton as well. I thought, being a home game, I knew I thought it would be a close game. I went with Overton. And again, I think the Frankston thing was the one that scared me again. And again, Overton's opponents weren't the same quality necessarily, but man, Frankston just whooped him. And then I think, like Jaron said, I think that job by, the job by Frankston shows how talented they really are. That's a team to be reckoned with. And so we're going to see that, moving forward is just how good that Frankston team is. Unless something crazy happens, I think we're going to see a team that, continues to get better, and they're going to be a force in the playoffs. So, hats off to Grapeland going in there and getting the win. And, I think for Overton, you can take some good things away from it, right? I mean, that's a good team you played, and you were able to hang in there and, use that as momentum for the next week and kind of get your feet moving in the right direction in that district play.
Game 5, Hawkins Union Grove. Another one I missed here. I had Hawkins, and they had a hard fought loss, 21-20, close one there over in Union Grove. And you look through here now, and you look at a Union Grove team that, I mean, we weren't really talking about them. They were a team that, again, like Legion Fields, it was kind of under the radar. We were talking, I think preseason it was what we had Wascom, Beckville, Big Sandy, and maybe Hawkins, or I don't know that, but Union Grove wasn't real mentioned, and they are being now. Union Grove is a team that you're gonna have to watch out for. I was really impressed with them. Hawkins is a team I'm scratching my head on. Like right now, you've got Wascom, you've got Legion Fields. I think that game's probably going to be for the top 2 at some point whenever they play. And then you've got 3 or 4 teams here that can really do something for that 3rd and 4th spot. This district, I know we talk about it over and over, but it's just so open, I feel like. I mean, you just saw how close this game was, 1 point spread here. I think the that spread is going to be a big factor. I think last year, I want to say there was a tiebreaker with the point spread. I think that's like the first tiebreaker with some of these teams. So that could help Hawkins, only losing by 1. They did lose, but that 1 point -1s is the best you can do with an L. So, Jeremy, what do you think about this particular matchup here?
Yeah, I mean, I went Hawkins as well, and I mean, I think like you said, this district is more muddy maybe than we thought it was going to be coming into it, and maybe some of the teams we thought were going to be at the top are kind of looking up right now. And so, again, it's early in the district, but big win for Union Grove there to go 4-1 on the season, and and so I think that's going to be a good team. And again, I think their only loss was to Wascom, in the opening of district play, and so they're going to be a team that's going to want to make some noise. But yeah, this is that wide open thing. Like somebody can get hot at the right time and sneak in a 3rd, 4th spot here.
Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah, so in that loss against Wascom was, I mean, it was a pretty good little spread there. I think it was like a 30-point loss. But what's interesting is they have the big time game this week against Elysian Fields, and then they finish with Ore City, Harleton, Beckville, and Big Sandy, right? So games where you would probably pick them, right? Union Grove in all those 4. So they're kind of hitting the tougher part of this district early on, and if they just kind of take care of business the second half of district play, then they could be in a good spot. And versus some of these teams having to take a little bit stiffer competition towards the end of the season. So so I mean, Coach Kyle Adams doing a good job. I mean, he was really starting to turn Ore City around when he left and went to Union Grove. So he's it's not the first time he's taken a program and really started to elevate them pretty quickly. So
Hawkins has a big stretch of games coming up, though. If you look at them, they took L's, to Elysian Fields and Union Grove, so they're 0-2. They've got a stretch of Ore City, Harleton, Beckville, and Big Sandy. So they need to really win all 4 of those games. They close with Wascom. So they need to sweep those games to have themselves a chance, because I think 4, and if you lose 3, you'd be technically that would be 4th place unless there's some tiebreakers. So they really need to lock in here these next 4 games and take care of business. They want to try to fight for that spot in the playoffs there.
Now I will say too, I was pretty surprised by this Harleton team. Jeremy and I did their game this past week, and they've got a few different ball carriers that are really, really good. They got a guy by the name of Michael Williams that, I mean, he's got like some tree trunks. I mean, the dude, you almost have to like take a wrecking ball to get him down. And so they may be one of those teams, especially with some of the teams that we expected to be, in the top 4 kind of faltering a little bit, maybe like Beckville. Harleton may be a team that may could squeeze in that 4th spot.
Well, Harleton did lose to Beckville.
Right.
So
yeah,
that would be tough.
That, yeah.
But they could be a spoiler too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, spoiler, or again, if you just win some games that maybe you shouldn't win, right? But you take advantage, then it can kind of make up for that loss against Beckville, and you never know.
All right, let's go to game 6. Pine Tree and Kilgore. Kilgore took care of business against Pine Tree. I think it was 35-7, if my memory states me correct. But I'm not surprised here. We're not sure how good Pine Tree is, but Kilgore at home, they took care of them 35-7, and pretty much a game that we expected. I don't remember if there's any teams that have had 0, but Kilgore had every single vote in this poll. So nobody picked Pine Tree to win this game. And they did not. So as we get into these next few games of the on the poll here, or on the pick'ems, we'll talk about the district, but I think that's what we expected the start to be, especially in this game. Kilgore's still the class of the district, and I'm sure they'll still be in that top area of the polls. And not really anything else to say. I think Kilgore just stays. They just got to stay focused and take every game one at a time, and they'll be fine. But Pine Tree is a team that I'm interested to see when they match up against some other teams in the district. When they match up against Henderson, when they match up against a Lindale, against a Chapel Hill, against a Palestine. Well, that'll kind of shape up the bottom part of this district. But I think right now, I mean, just from what we've seen so far, I think Kilgore is the team to beat in this district. Now, there's maybe another team in blue after Friday night that may, have some say in there, but we'll see. But I think they're still the class of the district at this point. What do you guys think about this outcome here?
Kilgore's just going to do what they do, right? And so it's kind of like Carthage, right? I mean, they're just going to come out and they're going to do what they do. And now, like you said, losing that game against Lindale, when that happens, could make things interesting. Obviously, still can't count out Chapel Hill, making it competitive. And then you got a Henderson team this week that is going to be looking to play spoiler a little bit and kind of solidify their place in this district. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not necessarily theirs to lose yet, but Kilgore is expected to go real deep in such a talented team. So yeah, and there went over Pine Tree, like you said, I mean, everyone in the poll voted, all 76 said Kilgore, and we see why.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's not much more to say. Kilgore is Kilgore, and they're still Kilgore. And until somebody does something about it, they're going to continue to be Kilgore. And so not a surprise here. I think this might have, and again, nothing against Pine Tree, but I think this might have been the easiest of the 10 picks, right? I mean, obvious evidenced by the fact that everybody went the same way. Yeah, Kilgore is Kilgore.
The second most picked team was Game 7, Henderson and Palestine. 75 out of 76 had Henderson win this game. Probably whoever picked Palestine probably either they go there or they're alumni or something. Coach Ray's is doing a great job there, but just not where Henderson is. What Coach Meeks has inherited is he's inherited a team that Coach Baker had gotten moved in the right direction, and it's evident by their offensive production that they can score the football, guys. Let's just lay them off these scores. They had 49 in a loss to Athens week 1. Then they had 52, 50, 56, and 67 points. That's pretty good. I don't know what that average is, Jeremy, the math. I'm looking at probably an average of a high 50 output per game just by looking at it there. I've been impressed. We'll get to talk about this game here when we do our pick'ems, like Jaron mentioned, but Henderson was able to knock off Kilgore last year. So I have this strange feeling that Kilgore's not overlooking this game next week, but I think it's going to be an interesting one to see kind of where Henderson is at. We know Athens is a good team that beat him in week 1, but every week that Coach Meeks gets with his team, they're going to continue to get his system, get improve. Jeremy and I got to see them last week in a game that wasn't competitive, but you could just see by the guys they have on the field that they've got some dudes.
And if we're being fair, they scored 56 points in the first half, and they fair caught 4 punt returns that probably could have been run back a long way, right? They were being kind to the opponent. It could have been a lot worse. Meaty Starling was phenomenal in that game. I think in a quarter and a half, he had 213 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, they've just got skill guys. They've got punt returners. They've just got speed all over the place. They just look so much faster than the team they were playing, and it kind of seems to be the theme for them. And so I think they're going to be a fun matchup. I think they're going to make some noise, and I think they've got a chance to do some real damage in this district. So.
Jaron?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit more about the matchup when it comes around to the pick'ems, but I just think it's exciting. I mean, that district is just so fun, right? I mean, it's just so fun, and I mean, I just think and again, even though you had the spread between Lindale and Chapel Hill was pretty big, there's still a lot of season, a lot of district left, right? And so some of these teams, even with some losses, can come through and really make things interesting. And so I don't know. I mean, I think this is probably, to me, one of the more entertaining districts. I'm going to call it the District of Doom, of course, but I just think it's a fun district to watch.
Yeah, it really is. Game 8, Mount Pleasant, White House. I had Mount Pleasant, me and 19 others, as they beat White House 21-0. It was a game we had on NETSN, and I got to watch some of this game, and White House just could not get anything going. And I think they've even made an adjustment during the game, and they moved JoJo Adams outside to receiver, trying to maybe get him in the open field, but just couldn't get it going. And this was going to be a game that we thought was maybe for third. Now White House is in a spot where they're going to have to make sure they take care of the teams below them, the Jacksonvilles, the Hallsvilles, the Nacogdoches, which Nacogdoches is playing well. Nacogdoches, that may be the game for fourth, just looking at it on paper, because you've still got Texas High and Marshall at the class of the district. I'll be interested to see how Mount Pleasant matches up against them, because Mount Pleasant did play some tough preseason schedule. So I don't know that they're at the level of those, but it'll be interesting to see what the spread is. But White House, they've just got to shake this one off, and they've got to, if they can take care of who's below them or who we think is going to be below them, they can still get in at that fourth spot. Coach Westerberg got to go back to the drawing board and try to figure out what he wants to do, because, he's got Adams in at quarterback, and then he moves him outside. What's the best spot to have him? Because he's their best athlete on the field. They've got to have him on the field, and he was taking some licks in the game I saw them play against Chapel Hill, and so it's got to find him in the right spot, and I think they can do that. They're going to need to put him in the right spot against the teams they've got to take care of. So it'll be interesting to see how they do, but shout out to Mount Pleasant, got their first win, and it was a big win for them as far as in district play, and I'll be interested to see how they do moving forward. Jeremy, what do we think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think this one was I think, we talked about it. Mount Pleasant's kind of schedule ahead of that time was pretty tough. And so, that's who I picked, was Mount Pleasant. I wasn't surprised by the outcome. You're kind of hoping that White House can figure out a way to get it done, but it's really hard to win games when your quarterback can't stay upright, or you're playing your best player at quarterback because you have to, right? And really, I mean, JoJo's best ability is to get out in the open space, and it's hard to do that, when you're having to key the offense and, you can't throw it to yourself, right? And so I think that's the hard thing for them is finding that guy that can run your offense so that you can put JoJo in those places that he really is going to excel at. And so I think that's going to be the key for them moving forward, is how do they make that adjustment? Where do they go from there? And, sometimes that's a tough call to make, because it could change a lot of things. And so they've got to kind of figure that out and go from there.
Yeah, and Jeremy, you were a coach for a long time, so this. Especially at this point in the season, you're still in switch flipping mode, right? You're trying to figure out, okay, what switches do I need to flip? Like I've got talent, I've got pieces here, but I've just got to get the right combo guys in the right position. And of course, you're in district now, so your window's shrinking. But I had White House in this one. I just thought being at home, homecoming, I thought it was just going to be, coming off a rough stretch of games, that this was going to be kind of their get right game. And like we've said, they just couldn't get things going offensively. Their defense really kept them in it, particularly in the first half, right? The defense played well. Just the offense just couldn't capitalize and just couldn't, get anything across the board or get anything on the board. So a lot of the season left, but they do have some of the more toughest road of their schedule. They'll end the district in Marshall, but they got Texas High coming up, and like you said, Brett, Nacogdoches is really surprising people too. So it's gonna be pretty tough.
Game 9, the game that Jeremy and I were at, is Chapel Hill and Lindale. Lindale, I would say minus one play, probably played the perfect game. Shout out to Coach Cochran and their game plan. They had a game plan prepared, and it worked to perfection as they won 64-28. The 6 turnovers from Chapel Hill were really put them in a bind. They just couldn't keep the ball in possession. And when Lindale had it, Mr. Thurman was busy. He had did he get 40 carries? He
got 40. Yeah,
40 carries on the night. Well over 200 yards of offense for Thurman, and they didn't really do anything flashy with him. They did start off the game with that flea flicker trick play there. That kind of got them off to a good start. It was their homecoming too. The facility was packed. There was no open seats in the house in Lindale, and but shout out to Coach Cochran. They got a great win. Thanks for the hospitality. We enjoyed ourselves there. But it's a big win for Lindale. And if you're Chapel Hill, I mean, if you play a team like Lindale, you can't turn the ball over 6 times and expect to be in this game. I mean, they started off really, really in a hole, and they closed it to like 10 points. And we thought, okay, well, they could become, and then immediately Lindale jumped right back on them and were able to just put the foot on the gas and just really put Chapel Hill in some bad spots. The pressure from Lindale up front, and KO and I talked about it. Could they get the pressure on G? And they were able to. He wasn't able to step into throws. He was throwing off his back foot a lot and just wasn't able to get the accuracy on some of his balls. He was overthrowing Blaylock and Brown in the secondary, and the times that they were able to make it, it was just the receiver going to make the catches. It was a tough night. They have I think the D tackle or D end, Walker, that's going to Houston, and he was a problem all night for the Chapel Hill offensive line. They were really getting pressure on Malik G, and he was struggling to get space to throw. So I think that was a lot of it. Jeremy, what else did you see that made Lindale look so impressive or not?
Yeah, I think the D line pressure was the big thing. Even on the early in the game, they had that big 44-yard play to Blaylock, but really G had to get out of some trouble. He had to step up in a pocket that was collapsing all around him to make that throw. And I thought they did a really good job. One of the keys I threw out there was they had to get him off his spot, and they spent the entire night. I don't think G had maybe 1 or 2 dropbacks where he looked like his feet were comfortable. Like he could feel the pressure, whether it was there or not. He could sense it. And then I thought the secondary did a great job, because that was the other key. We said, for Chapel Hill to get the ball to the playmakers and for Lindale to limit it, and some of the van guys had some fun running all over that secondary. And so hats off to the secondary coaches and the guys in the secondary for really tightening up what we thought might have been a weakness, and it really looked like a strength all night. I mean, they had several picks. Probably could have had a couple more. I mean,
Jackson LeGros in that back end was impressive as safety. He kind of was playing he was kind of over the top of both Blaylock and Brown all night. Mostly Blaylock. He kind of shadowed over that direction, and did get 1 interception out of it. He kind of read the play almost like he was playing outfield, and it was a long fly ball, and he kind of just ranged over and got it. That's what he did on that interception. And it was because of the fact that G threw it really high, like he was under pressure and he had to throw it up. Almost had to throw a jump ball, and LeGros just kind of came under it and made the play.
Yeah, it felt like he was, he threw a lot of back-footed throws and a lot of, we even talked about when he rolled left and then made the cardinal mistake of throwing all the way back to the right, and he threw it into a crowd of 4 eagles, a whole flock of eagles and 1 bulldog, and that was the one that was picked. And that was really the big one, because they had kind of gotten a little momentum, and then instead of just throwing that ball away or tucking it and going, he had some room maybe to run, and I think he tried to do a little too much. And I think that happens when you get behind a little bit. You see you're not playing well. You almost force the issue. And so I thought Lindale just did an excellent job of not letting Chapel Hill do to their strength. And then we talked, late in the game, Chapel Hill made a big run thanks to number 13. And now, of course, when I said his name, I was going to go
Darden.
But yeah, Darden. He was an effective runner. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Chapel Hill roll him out early and often next week, because he was unstoppable. Like he was looking to run dudes over, and then he was running by other dudes. I mean, he looked like the real deal.
Jared?
Yeah, just from what you guys have said and some of the film that I was able to watch, it seems like this is a game for Lindale that the quintessential game where your defense teed it up for your offense perfectly, and your offense took advantage of everything your defense gave you and did for you, right? But we know that we've talked all season about the defensive front for Wendell kind of being their calling card and being tough. And I think if you're Chapel Hill, you're seeing, okay, we're going to see another really tough defensive front in Kilgore pretty quick, right? And so, learn from this, right? And say, okay, how do we need to adjust so that Malik G's not in these similar type situations where he's trying to, forced to have to throw the ball across the field and throw in the triple coverage and stuff. Because that defensive front for Kilgore is about as nasty as the one for Wendell. And so I think just learning from this, but again, I think it's one of you hear this phrase a lot, but one of the best games of best showings of complementary football that we've probably seen this season, where a defense really does its job and the offense takes advantage of every possession that the defense forced over for them.
Yeah, and you got, one of those touchdowns that Chapel Hill scored was a pick six from Castaneda. He had 3 of the touchdowns of the 4, 2 in the Wildcat and then the pick six. So Castaneda, he showed out. He was doing his thing. I'll be interested to say, I think Chapel Hill moving forward is, if they're going to be successful with throwing the ball deep and having that pass rush come in, they're going to need to do some running or maybe some short, quick passes to counter some of that rush, to kind of give G some more time. Because if they're going to sell out on the rush like that, you've got to make them pay for it.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. I think they're going to have to go quick game, and it can't be long, slow throws out to the wide. It's kind of a wide receiver screen. It's got to be quick to the inside, some slants, some square ends, and then you can open up the deep ball. But it kind of felt like they thought they were going to be able to take advantage of that secondary, and I think that defensive line just didn't make it an issue. Where, the Lendale's secondary didn't have to cover more than a couple seconds because G was under pressure right away.
Yeah. All right, game 10. Man, KO's games of the week. I know he's not here tonight, but every time he picks a game of the week, it's like 40-something to 0 or, a big blowout. I don't know what he's got. He's got some bad streaks going on here. But the ARP Tigers, I don't know what happened, Jeremy. This was one of them. I saw it and it was like 14-0 Troop. Okay, it's still, still early, but 42-6. Man, I just didn't see that coming. I had ARP winning this game, and Troop said, "Not so fast. We are still the team to beat in this district," and I think they proved it. I think the West Rusk has their hands full. I think it's gonna be them and West Rusk probably now to see who wins district, or at least has a shot at it. But this was a surprising game to me. I did not see this coming. I thought it was a coin flip as far as anyone could win, but I didn't see a blowout either way. I thought it was going to be a good game. I know you were with me. We were looking at this score the whole time. I mean, how shocked are you by this result?
Yeah, again, not that the winner, right? It's not the big deal. The winner is the winner, but man, I did not see 42-6. And in my head, if it had been that score, I wouldn't have been shocked had it been ARP, just because of the way their defense had played. I think they'd only given up 17 maybe all year, something like that. I mean, it was not much. And then all of a sudden to go out and give up 42, that had to be a long 7-mile bus ride back home.
The longest 7-mile ride.
Yeah, I bet it felt more like 28. It's just one of those crazy ones.
Yeah, well, you go from giving up 17 to giving up 42 in one. That kills your per game average right there.
Yeah. Just one of the games where, hats off to Troop, and ARP's going to probably, they're going to go back to the drawing board a little bit. And again, we didn't get to see it, so I hadn't looked at stats or anything. I wonder what the turnovers look like and things like that. But it's definitely a shocking total. Again, not that it couldn't, go the Troop's way. We knew Troop was a good team, but I didn't expect it to be, this many points. 36 is a lot to lose by.
Yeah, that's a lot of points, and to lose to the rival like that, that's a tough one. So a couple of big spreads on some of these games this week. There was a couple that were close, but not a whole lot of close games. Jaron, ARP and Troop, what'd you thought when you saw that score?
Yeah, sorry guys. So I was trying to plug in my laptop. Yeah, I mean, I picked ARP. I thought it was going to be a really good game. I mean, it caught the attention of Dave Campbell's, right? So it was going to be I mean, it's probably the most attention this 7 Mile rivalry game has gotten in years. Right, both teams coming undefeated, and like Jeremy said, not necessarily the result, but just the egg. I mean, it's just kind of anticlimactic, right? I mean,
it's KO's fault, Jaron. Every time he picks the game of the week, it's like not the blowout one way or the other. I feel like,
but to his defense, I mean, I would have picked this one as game of the week, right? I mean, this is like,
I know,
I mean, this was set up to be that, right?
Well, he said it was either going to be Chapel Hill, Lindale, or Arp and Troop. I think were two.
Well, he should have just come to Lindale, and then it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, it wouldn't have changed anything, right?
Well, again, I think more than anything, I think it just shows us what that Troop really means business this year, right? And that they are not just looking to win the district, but they're looking to make a run. And again, Arp's still a very good football team. And the first thing I did, I texted KO when I was leaving my game. I said, were there any injuries? I mean, because when you see a score like that on an anticipated game like that, that's one of the first things you ask was like, who got hurt, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, no, man, it just Troop played really well and Arp didn't, and just he didn't say it like that. He just said that no injuries, just like Troop just played a really good game, and Arp struggled. So yeah, so I think we'll see how Arp rebounds. They're still can make a play for second or third in that district for sure.
Yeah, we were to say it's an interesting now because we have that West Russ Troop game here down the line, and so that game now is going to be probably the can there be a 3-way tie if West Russ is able to get in there and get a win, or how does West Russ fit into this? Because I've seen West Russ and their defense is solid, so they could be crazier things. I don't see them giving up 42 points, but I didn't see Arp giving up 42 either. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited for that one. I think it'll be a good matchup. Well, that's it for the Pick'em games. Looking down through the scores, games that we had. So me and Jason were, I guess, blessed with an offensive shootout from two great offensive teams. We were in Tyler Grace on Thursday night as Timpson got the win 61-48 in a back and forth battle with, we had H.D. Davis, a commit from Kansas State for Wolf City, and he was the real deal. He was impressive. Timpson had I guess it was kind of a dual threat with the quarterback Parker and then Richardson, the tailback. Those two guys they ran the rock all night, and it was a up and down, big plays abound. Just an incredible game, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't know if you guys got to catch any of that game Thursday night. Jaron, you got to catch some of it? Oh, that's right. You were spamming the chat with some other randomness and some gig'em stuff. I don't know what that was.
I was just quality control. Quality control.
Okay.
Just checking.
Right.
Well,
then what'd you think of the game then?
No, I thought it was a fun game. I really did. I defense was optional. At least for for a chunk of it. But
well, in the first quarter was the difference, right? Because Wolf City had a couple of possessions that didn't score in the first quarter. And that was it. That there was no it was onside kick frenzy. Nobody kicked deep hardly at all. The onside kicks all over the place.
But Wolf City was pesky. Every time you thought that Timpson kind of would, was about to spread it out and kind of take control of the game, Wolf City was like, not so fast, and I mean they were pesky up until the end, right? And so, for a Thursday night game, I was really happy with our viewership on that game. I thought it was awesome, and so that was a good way to start what ended up being a pretty crazy week.
Yeah. Let's see. That was the only game that really stuck out on Thursday to me. Just going down through here for Friday. Is there any games? I saw we saw Legacy lost by 30, Jeremy. That was another tough loss for them.
That Heath team is a really good squad. Yeah, I mean I think they were projected to win. They and Longview were going to be the top two in district. I think was the projection early, and they played really well. I thought Tatum, and again, I thought Tatum bounced back well with a big win. And
what about
that was a good.
What about the shootout? What about the shootout at Rose Stadium, Jeremy?
Oh my gosh.
70 to
70,
60.
70. Oh my gosh. Defense was clearly very optional.
And then the play at the end of the half for Tyler, I was like, they were like throwing the ball around, like trying to score. At Highland Park was, I think Tyler Wright ended up like intercepting it and then picked it up or picked up a fumble or something, and ended up scampering into the end zone for a touchdown to end the half. I saw that play posted online. I don't know if you get to see that one, but one of the craziest plays you'll ever see to end a half. It wasn't a game. They were just trying to score at the end of the half and ended up backfiring on them. Then to me, Lufkin losing to Barbers Hill is an interesting one. You had Coach Absett going back to his former school, and they welcomed him back with a loss. That was an interesting score.
That was a big one. And it wasn't close, right? Like it wasn't even.
No.
I'll tell you a game I was following, and one of the ones that we had was Shelbyville and Carlisle. You know, that was a really exciting game, and you got to give it to Carlisle. I mean, they just from the injury bug has came in and wreaked havoc, you know, among their locker room, especially at the quarterback position. But they have just, you know, fought and fought and fought and fought. And that's just a testament to Coach Baker and those kids. And we'll see what the rest of the season, looks like for them. But, Shelbyville, maybe having a little bit less of a season than they had anticipated, but still a very good football team. And this game really went down to the wire. I was listening to it on my way back home, and it was really exciting till the end.
What about the alarms in Gilmer, Jeremy? How the hell high are those alarms now?
Oh, it's a full blown 5, right? I mean, it's all hands on deck. Like, yeah,
63-7. Oof. I mean, I don't know how good Brenham is.
Non-district, right? The only help.
Yeah,
but still, man.
I'll tell you, the Atlanta White Oak game. Atlanta's a team that again just really hadn't known how to see them and how to view them right, just because they played some tough competition and stuff. But White Oak, who was really having a good season so far, Atlanta came in and pretty commanding win there, 39-14. And this is where White Oak started to struggle last year too, right? They kind of started off pretty hot, and then once district come on, they started to kind of fizzle a little bit, and so I thought that was a game. I'm not necessarily surprised that Atlanta won, but it's a little bit wider of a spread than I kind of thought it would be. And then Pittsburgh's still rolling. I mean, they took on the Dallas Christian, who's just a powerhouse in taps, and won by 3, and was really trailing a lot of that game. And man, what they're doing over there is just that's been in recent memory one of the most dramatic turnarounds that I can remember in East Texas in several years.
What about one of the most surprising scores of the week? Commerce 51, Winsboro 13.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we'll talk about this with the polls. Dead gummit, man. Like, what
in the world?
I did not see that coming. It'd be interesting to see the stat lines from that one too. Like, why was the spread that big?
Now, I do think Carroll got – I want to say Carroll got hurt, the running back. Or no, I'm not. I'm sorry. Castleberry. I think he got hurt. Again, or maybe no, Carroll. Someone I saw somewhere that maybe there was an injury there that played a part. But, I mean, still, that's a huge –
Mount Vernon with an impressive win too, 57-20 over Mineola. Mount Vernon 3-2. Trying to kind of resurrect them from, they've struggled over the last couple of years. So a big win for them.
Wascom over at Ore City, right? That was Ore City came in, I think 3-0, and Wascom was 2-1, right, or something like that. Or maybe that's not. Is that not right?
Ore City was 0-3.
0-3. The thing
or
I was looking at.
Or 1. Let me see.
Yeah.
That may be the wrong record on the thing I'm looking at. Okay.
Ore City says 3-0.
Really?
Yeah. They lost. Now they're 3-2 at the moment. Now.
Okay. That's what, okay.
3-2. Sorry, 3-2.
Yeah. No, I knew they'd gone off to a better start than they had, last year. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So you talked about the Shelbyville. They only beat Carlisle 38-34. That's an impressive for Coach Baker and company to kind of stay at course there, especially again with all the injuries. I hope they can get a quarterback Ibarra back for district, because I think they can really compete in that district. I think they're ahead of schedule to me. I think they've got the talent and they got the players there. They've just got to stay healthy. Let's see. Anything else? I think that's all the ones that I kind of saw. Corrigan, Camden, and Joaquin played a thriller. Joaquin won by 27-26. Was really a close game there. And I think we're at the point now where like a lot of these districts are going to be taking a week off. So it'll be interesting to see kind of if they're able to get that week to get healthy and get started for their district play. But y'all ready to talk some polls? Now, this week's polls, I'm interested to see kind of how everybody falls, because there was some weird, wacky stuff going on this week. Some weird, wacky stuff. So we're going to start with the big school poll, or 6A, 5A, 4A. And we're going to start from the bottom. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So coming in at number 15, you got the Van Vandals. At 14, we got Pittsburgh. 13 is Canton. 12 is Lufkin. And 11 is Henderson. So I had Pittsburgh at 15. I had Canton at 14, Van 13, Henderson at 12, and Athens at 11 in my poll. So I had several of those. Lufkin's down there. I had them a little higher in mine. What do you think about that, Jaron, so far? What'd you have in yours?
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that. I've got Lufkin at 15. I have Van at 14. I have Canton at 13. Henderson at 12 and Athens at 11. So pretty close.
Okay. Jeremy?
Yeah, I had Van at 15. I had Canton at 14. I had Lufkin 13, Pittsburgh 12, and Henderson 11. So I had the same 5, just kind of shuffled around. So.
Okay. All right. I mean, we think we're kind of at the point now where we start seeing some separation. So I feel like a lot of these same 15 we've kind of got figured out. There's probably a few we can have the kind of on the outside looking in that might have a chance to move in depending on teams beating each other up. But
I think Pittsburgh's too low at 14 with what they've done. I know it's probably because some guys didn't have them in their poll and maybe are sneaking them in late. But to me, I don't know. I just think they're a much better team than where they're at. But that's okay. The things will shake out as the season goes on. But it definitely feels like that's a little bit low for them.
And I have them pretty high, and we'll cover them in just a second, just because besides that 3-point loss to Jefferson, which of course now, after Jefferson's, struggled a little bit, Pittsburgh's done everything you've asked them to do, and that's win and win commandably, by big differentials.
Yeah.
And so, again, that's a Jefferson loss, you don't really know how to view that yet. But they've done really everything you've asked them to. And again, I can't help, but when I'm ranking these teams in polls, I can't help but think of like the swing that they've had, right? And kind of is Uncle Mo sitting on their side? And Uncle Mo's definitely a Pittsburgh fan right now. And I think it's saying, so yeah, I agree with you, Jim. I think they're a little too low.
I have Pittsburgh at 15 in my poll. I'm waiting to see. I wanted them to keep winning because I don't really know. Besides, they've lost to Jefferson. Like their wins haven't been flashy to me. So I think they're still fine right there. I think they've got a chance to move up, but there's so many good teams ahead of them. I can't penalize like Van, for instance. They lost to a really good Lindale team. Like, am I going to punish them for playing a really good team? Pittsburgh has not beaten a team in this top 15. So that's what I'm looking at. Like, I need to see them beat somebody. And if they keep winning, they'll keep moving up. I think that's my only argument. I think they're in a good spot. I think there's a couple teams like Canton. They're about to start playing some district foes. Are they going to keep winning? They played a really, I'd say, an easy pre-district schedule, but they haven't lost either. So I have them slightly ahead of Pittsburgh.
See, I had Van lower with the 2 losses. Now again, it was to Lindale and Sunnyvale, 2 really good teams, but they do have 2 losses, and so that was why I had them under Pittsburgh and at the bottom of my list. They just kind of hung in that poll there just because I didn't really have anybody else, to put in there when they dropped down. But yeah, and again, I mean that's the beauty of the poll, right? Like we get to kind of have our opinion, and some of those things will shake themselves out as the season goes on, and that's the fun in it. We'll kind of see what it looks like at the end versus what we thought in the beginning. And
yeah.
Now they're off this week, but then they have that game that they have against Gilmer again, because we're still trying to figure out what's going on with Gilmer, right? And we talked about the 5, 6, 7, 10 alarm fire going on over there. But then they have then they'll take on the Paris North Lamar team that hasn't won a game yet, and first year head coach over there. And then they got the Van and Pleasant Grove back to back.
See, that'll tell me where I need to put Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It'll play itself out. Like if they go and they beat Van, then they'll get a nice little boost.
Well, and then they finish up with Spring Hill, which I think is a game that they can win for sure too. So even if they lose to Van and Pleasant Grove, I mean, you're still looking at a 7-3, overall schedule, which again, last year, they were 1-9. So
they're definitely improved.
Yeah.
And I think they're worthy of being in the poll. I just don't know where exactly at right now. And I've got some teams that I think are better. Again, we just talked about you earn your way up. They'll have some games to do that.
Yeah, we'll get some head-to-head.
The one team I wanted to add and didn't, I think, is NAC. They're really close.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think they said, Coach House, right? I don't want to get that wrong, but I think that's
you're right.
Coach House. It's the most wins they've had under him, and they're only 5 games into the season, and they're 4-1. And so that's a team I'm really watching, and really it was just a space issue, right? That was the dilemma for me. But I was like, I can't really knock Van out because they won.
So Nacogdoches they have some chances to put some nice wins on their record there. So they'll have some chances. If they can beat any of the 3 of Mount Pleasant, Marshall, or Texas High, then I'll start looking at them. Yeah. I don't think those are their 3 quality win chances left for Nacogdoches in that district. So again, they can, as teams start losing, I think they could be a team that could move up. That most definitely. All right, let's go 10 through 6 here. All right, you ready?
Yep.
10, we got Athens. 9, we got Chapel Hill. 8, we got Marshall. 7, we have Texas High. And 6, we have Pleasant Grove. Now, I may sound homerish, but I think that's a little low for Chapel Hill. Just saying. Like, I've got Chapel Hill higher because the 2 teams that they've lost to are in my top 3. Like, I feel like that, and so I think that's a little low, but that's just my opinion. I have Marshall at 10, I have Lufkin at 9, Pleasant Grove 8, Texas High at 7, Longview at 6. So I'm sure Jaron probably took Chapel Hill out of his poll completely.
No, they are there. I've got Marshall at 10. I've got Chapel Hill at 9. I do have Pittsburgh at 8. I've got Longview at 7. And I've got Sulphur Springs at 6.
So you're telling me you've got Pittsburgh ahead of Chapel Hill?
You can only play who's in front of you, right? You can only play who's on your schedule, right?
The schedule tougher.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but again, like you can only play who's on your schedule. And besides Jefferson, a 3-point loss to Jefferson, Pittsburgh's played everyone on their schedule exactly how they've they're expected to play it. So. And apparently I'm not as far as where I have Chapel Hill in the poll, right? That's about where'd you say they were at?
There are 9.
Yeah. So
that's way low for me, but go ahead, Jeremy.
I had Athens at 10, so I hit that one. At 9, I have Marshall, 8 Texas High, 7 Chapel Hill, and then 6 PG. So I hit my 10 and my 6 on that one, and then I had Chapel Hill 7. Now previously I had Chapel Hill at 3. So that loss, I knocked them down 4 spots. And so.
Yeah, I had them at 2, and then I brought them down to 5. So I did come bring them down. But, like, for instance, you've got Carthage, Kilgore, and Lindale all on their schedule. They haven't played Kilgore yet, but they lost to Carthage and Lindale. So they've played a tough schedule, and they've beaten, who's in front of them, Jaron. They just have a tougher schedule. They should be rewarded for a tough schedule.
Well, but I go back to some of the logic that KO and I have kind of talked about there, and is like, then you're starting to have to penalize teams for winning, right? If you're going to keep these guys that are losing, although while their schedule's tough, at certain spots or even move them up, then you're starting to penalize teams that are winning.
No, you're not penalize them. Just they got to keep winning. If Pittsburgh keeps winning, they'll move up. But they've got Gilmer. I'm still not. I mean, Gilmer's. Let's look at who they've lost to. I mean, Gilmer, I think is still going to be a tough opponent. I don't think they beat Gilmer. I think they're the fourth best team in that district. Just that's what I think. But we'll see. I guess we'll see. 5 through 1, we got Sulphur Springs cracking the top 5. Number 5, we got Longview at 4, Lindale 3, Kilgore 2, and Carthage at 1. So I had the top 3 correct. I have Sulphur Springs at 4, as they've played a really tough schedule and they've run through it. Now they're going to have their district's going to prove how good they are. They've got a couple of in Frisco, Panther Creek, and Salina will be some tough matchups for them. So we'll see how good Spring Hill is within that district, but they've been impressive so far. I have Longview at 6. They've got 2 losses. They played quality opponents, but I think that I don't know how good. Obviously, y'all said Ruston's a good team. I just don't know Louisiana and how that matches up. And Dallas South Oak Cliff, they're a good team for 5A Division II, but Longview's a 6A team, so there should be a difference there. If they're going to be a top team, they need to beat them.
And we can't. I mean, is Coach King back on the sideline yet? Is he?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't know how that's affected too.
Yeah, it's got to affect him, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm sure it does. His son has been playing.
If you lose 2 games by field goals at the end, you can't tell me that the coach that's been there for that many years doesn't make a difference, right? Like, it's one thing if they got blown out by 20, you go, they're going to lose anyway. But when you lose by 3, and I think both of them, if I'm not wrong, and I could be wrong on the South Oak, but I think they were both late, if not last second field goal. I mean,
yeah,
I can tell you that the coach can make a 3-point difference. When and maybe there's some time management things that happen, or you never know. But Coach King is good enough.
Isn't the coach that's the interim? Hasn't he been with Coach King for like?
Oh, he's been there like 40 years. I mean, yeah. Sure, I mean, he's been there.
Still not the same. The right-hand man ain't the man.
Yeah.
Right.
He's basically been under King for that long, so he should.
Well, I think he's been there even longer than King.
So he's basically going to do the same thing that King has been doing. I'm sure. I mean, at least close to it. So I don't know. It's tough to judge that. I mean, I see your point, Jeremy. You could be. But maybe he does something different that's better than King. He's got a lot of experience. It's not like he's a young guy, just coming in. So, who knows? All right. So what do you guys got? That's your top 5. We'll start with you, Jeremy.
Yeah. So my 5, I was Sulphur. Then I have Lindale at 4. They were my 6. They moved up 2. I've got Longview at 3, Kilgore at 2, and Carthage at 1. And again, a lot of that was I had that was my top 3 from last week, and then they were idle, and so I didn't feel like penalizing them. Not that I didn't think Lindale was a really good team, but that was my justification for not moving Lindale up any higher, was the teams in front of him didn't lose. So,
all right, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I've got T-High at 5. I've got Lindale at 4 just because I wanted to make them higher, but when you've got PG, Kilgore, and then Carthage at 1, like, who am I going to bump, right? And
PG.
With PG's only losses to Kilgore, and you're my number 2 team, right?
We know you got your Northeast Texas bias. So, you're gonna have the Northeast Texas guys. Yeah. I'm surprised you don't have PG at 1, Texas High at 2, Who else is up there?
No,
Riallo, Dangerfield can't be in this poll.
No. Let's not get crazy here.
Paris is probably up there too.
Just like you, I'm surprised you don't have Chapel Hill in top 3. You know.
No, I mean, I'm fair with my poll. I'm not being biased in my poll. I think my argument is.
And I'm not. I mean, look at PG's at 3, Kilgore 2, and Carthage 1.
I've got PG at 8. My poll.
Well, where does the poll have him at?
The poll has him at 6.
Well.
Which is exactly where I had him. I mean, I'm just saying.
There you go, Jeremy. There you go.
I'm the balance here. I'm the balance in the northeast and the northeast.
No, I think Pleasant Grove's a good team. They haven't shown anything. They haven't beat, like, they lost to Kilgore, but they haven't played really anybody else. I think
Sunnyvale.
What about Sunnyvale?
They were undefeated. Into that one.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Sunnyvale. They're a good.
They're good.
Okay. They're not in East Texas.
They're usually in their third. They're usually a third round opponent or fourth round opponent for Carthage.
Yeah. No, I think Carthage's third or fourth round opponent's usually Gilmer.
Well, it's fourth round. They played Sunnyvale in fourth round last year.
Okay. Sure.
Let me double check.
They're not in this poll though.
No, they're not in this poll, but it doesn't mean they're not a good team.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think they're as good a team as what Chapel Hill's played.
Well, and I know you said the thing about not knowing Louisiana football and rust, and and again, I'm not well versed there, but when you're ranked, where they were nationally, they're in the top 100 nationally, and then you're ranked number 3 in the whole state of Louisiana. Whether Louisiana football is the same quality, we know it's not quite there, but you're still the number 3 team in the entire state. And you're ranked in the top. You're ranked ahead of Carthage nationally. You're not a slouch.
No,
right? So I think and again, that I know we're going back to Longview on that one, but I just was thinking about that. I was like, again, we don't know, but they beat a good Longview team, and so they're obviously not a poor team. And South Oak Cliff is no slouch, and they played in SOC, which is a tough place to play.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the beauty of this thing, right? Like, we know 1 and 2. And then, that 3 through 6, even there's still a little shuffle in there, and a little shakeout.
Yeah, I think it's
more to come.
Carthage and Kilgore are pretty clear cut at this point. I think it's clear cut 1 through 3. I think Lindale is the third best team, just from what I saw the other night, what they have and how they basically game plan, and with what Coach Cochran's doing. I mean, I'm a Chapel Hill guy, and I'm saying that. So I saw them play, and I think they have got something going there. Of course, we talked about, Jeremy, they don't have their starting tailback in. We think that Johnson is out. He wasn't there. Thurman didn't miss a beat. He was doing his work.
Yeah, Thurman was the shiftiest guy that I've seen in a long time. Like, he looked like he had grease all over him, because there were Chapel Hill guys that had him squared up, and all of a sudden he's 6 yards downfield, and they didn't even get a touch, or maybe just a whiff of an ankle. And yeah, he was impressive in that sense, that he was relentless. I think we talked about, I think he had 4 carries out of his 40 where he had no yard. I think 4 no-yard carries and maybe 1 of a loss. So 35 carries, he had at least 3 or more yards. I mean, just an impressive deal by him, and just he just wore you out.
Yeah.
And I'll stand corrected. Sunnyvale went 3 rounds last year, not 4. They went 3, and they lost to Van, and then Van in the 4th round. I got them backwards. Van.
So they lost
to Carthage.
Van.
Yeah, last year.
Okay.
Last year, but went 3 rounds. Again, I mean, point taken. Is there a team that goes? And I understand not being as familiar with them because they're not in East Texas, and I'm not saying they should be in this poll. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying
Jared's gonna put them in next week. Sunnyvale.
No, because they're not East Texas. But I'm not pulling the digs over here. I'm just I'm just saying that.
Wait, is that the digs hear us? Oh, just kidding.
No, that'd be great. No, I'm just saying that a win over Sunnyvale is a quality win. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
It's all right. It's an all right win. Man, I think there's not a whole lot of teams that are not in this 15 that I'm really looking at. Like, let me look at the poll and see. So I have, out of everyone that's voted, I think I've got the same teams in the 15. I don't think I have anybody that's not in. Do you guys have anybody that you voted for that's not in the poll? So I think we've kind of gotten our 15 kind of settled in. At least the order has shifted all up between us. But I think we've gotten kind of that I'm going to look and see, because I just always like to see who everybody else has. If there's anybody that anybody voted for. Like Brandon gave Nacogdoches a vote this week at 14. I think that was one team.
I wouldn't be mad about that one. I mean, they were close they were 16 for me.
I think that's a solid, someone to put in. And Jeremy mentioned it too, to keep an eye on what NAC does. I think they've got a chance to earn themselves a spot in the poll. They've got some games in front of them to do so. But I think this poll, again, is shaking out. We've kind of gotten maybe who's going to be here. We don't, maybe some people pop up in there, but it's pretty solid right now. This next poll, though, guys, is always interesting. As much fun as we can have on order on this other poll, there's probably going to be more argument of who's in and who's not on the next one. I haven't really looked at it to see, but I just feel like that's probably the case for this small school. So let's go dig into this 3A, 2A TAPS poll a little bit and see kind of where everybody's shaking out. There was a lot of shuffling this week with all the crazy scores and outcomes. Let's see what we came up with. All right, so let's start with the bottom. We have a new team into the poll this week, fellas. We have Union Grove as made an appearance in the poll. They are number 15. Now we've got Atlanta at 14, West Rusk at 13, Wascom at 12, and Garrison at 11. Something that sticks out to me in this is a couple of teams that we had really high in the preseason poll have kind of taken a little spill down to the bottom here. I had in my poll, actually, hold on a second. That's not the right poll. I just read off mine. That was my rankings. Oops. Let's try that again. We have a 3-way tie for our 13 spot, technically, I guess. This just shows how much shakeup this is going to have this week. So we've got Garrison, Honey Grove, and Atlanta in a 3-way tie for 13th. That's interesting. I'll get all that. That's crazy. Okay. And then we have a 3-way tie for 10th. This is wow. So we're going to have to split this up a little differently this week. So we're going to just talk these. So we'll have ARP, Grand Saline, and Gladewater, 3-way tie for 10th. Man. Okay, so I gave you guys my bottom poll. Union Grove is not in the poll, which I feel like they should be. But we got Union Grove, Atlanta, West Rusk, Wascom, and Garrison for me were my 11 through 15. What do you guys have for yours?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and tell you I'm not happy with my poll. It's just hard. It was a hard one to do.
With it.
Well,
Jared, okay. Let me tell you. So if you could just put 100 in there, you'd be happier, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it just some weeks it lays a little more clean than it did this week, and we knew it was going to be difficult. As I'm looking back, I'm like, man, I should have done this. I should have changed this. I'm just critiquing myself, right? But,
well, let me critique you, Jared. Tell me who you got. I'll tell you why you're wrong.
I don't have Union Grove in there. I should. I have White Oak at 15 still. But they've been in the poll. I mean, they've been floating there. But if I could do it over again, I'd put Union Grove there in that spot. Okay. And I have West Rusk at 14. And I don't know how this one happened, so I'm just going to have to apologize for my Indian friends. No, I don't know how this happened. I guess, but I've got Grand Saline at 13. They're higher than that, I think. I mean, you had them they're tied for 10th, right? In our big poll.
Grand Saline, yes.
Yeah. So now I've got Gladewater at 12, and then another team that should be higher. I'm just had a hard time figuring out where to put them is Mount Enterprise. Yeah, again, I'm not super happy with where I've got folks there. But it just again shows it where it's all kind of muddied up.
It's so like it just shows that you've got 2 3-way ties in the poll. That's crazy. Jeremy, how does yours look? Does it look anything like what we got?
Well, so I had White Oak in my poll last week. They and West Rusk were my new entrants. So I had White Oak at 14, West Rusk at 15. I pulled White Oak back out of it with the loss, and I bumped in Union Grove with their win over Hawkins. 14, I have West Rusk. 13, Gladewater. 12, Elysian Fields, and 11, Grand Saline. And here's the thing: I know that Elysian Fields should be way higher, and I know that Grand Saline should be higher, but where I had the teams that lost, they didn't fall far enough to kick them out. If that makes sense. Elysians was a late add to mine. Grand Saline was kind of the same way. I overlooked both of them way too early. And so when I added them in, there was nowhere to go up because everybody above, ARP was my big fall, but they didn't fall far enough to get behind either one of those. And so that was kind of the hard part for me was the two teams that lost this week on my poll. One of them was a really close game by 1 point. I'm not going to kill you for that. And then ARP was my number 2 team, and so they fell, but they didn't fall past, they didn't fall out of the top 10 for me. So I just didn't have room to move teams that I think are very good up just because of where they started.
Well, I think to your point, Brett, that you said that there's a lot of teams that were preseason we had pretty high here that, fell out. I think that's what's making it hard is, the reverse of that is that there's teams that are now in that didn't start in, and so they have a lot of ground to cover. Yeah. But the teams ahead of them, like Jeremy said, so that's the hard part is it's such a, and this is the sweet spot for me for East Texas football, right? This 2A, 3A, I think we've got some of the best in the state for 2A, 3A especially. And so I just think, it's just hard to figure out how they all line up together.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we'll go up here. So, of course, we had the 3-way tie to beat to those 10th. So at 9, we had Jefferson, 8, Elysian Fields, 7, Mount Enterprise, and 6, Wascom. I had Jefferson at 10, Gladewater at 9. I feel like I had to move Gladewater ahead of Jefferson. They just beat them. And so I think now West Rusk's win looks better. But I saw the game, and I saw Gladewater probably should have won that game. I mean, I know they didn't on the scoreboard, but since I was there and saw that, that makes me want to. I think that Gladewater deserved to be up there. I dropped ARP down to 8, Elysian Fields at 7, Mount Enterprise at 6. So I feel pretty good about that area. I feel better about the middle than the bottom, just because it's so difficult with all these teams are bouncing around. And but I did try to reward Elysian Fields. They moved up 4 spots. Enterprise moved up 4. I moved some people up because if ARP would have went in and lost 28-21, I might have dropped them a little lower. But just getting beat by Troop by that much margin. Now, I didn't see the game, so it's harder to judge. Like I saw the Chapel Hill Lindo game. I saw why Chapel Hill lost. I did not see this game. I was hoping we'd get KO on tonight because I'd like to know kind of how that game went as far as how it did. Was it just straight Troop just dominated, or just ARP had a bad night with turnovers and that? Because that matters, right? The way you lose. If you just come out and your defense just stalemates and stops and makes the other team punt, but if you just turn the ball over and give them easy scores, it can make a game that should be a 7-point margin, a 40-point margin real quick.
Yeah, and he had said in our brief text exchange, he had said, man, Troop just played a really good game. I mean, just dominated.
And so from that, I moved them down. I didn't drop them out of the poll. I kept them in, but I did feel like I had to move a solid Mount Enterprise and a solid Elysian Fields, and then a couple other teams ahead of them. But that's my top, or that's my little middle. What about you, Jaron? What's your middle looking like there?
Yeah, so I've been higher on Atlanta than everybody else has. I mean, their only loss is against PG. Now, obviously, we have some different opinions on PG's, but everybody else, that was game 1, and then their schedule hadn't been super competitive, but they've played everybody, ahead of them and have won, by decent margins, and so I have them at 10. Jefferson's at 9. I mean, it's a big drop, but yeah, and that's the one that's kind of hurting my heart. So are they out of the poll completely?
Jefferson?
Yeah.
No, they're at 9.
They are now. Okay, okay. I've got ARP at 8, Wascom at 7, and then I skyrocketed. I'm riding that Coach Main train. I got them at 6. Man, they are just really just performing so well, and just what I'm hearing I talked to some folks, from the station that covers them regularly, and then I talked to my brother and some other folks in that area. And it's not just they're not just riding the coattails of New Kennedy. Obviously, we talked earlier in the show. I mean, he's a dynamic player, but the whole team is just playing above their heads, just playing really, really well. And so, I think again, we'll see what happens as they roll through district, but they're just doing really well. So I want to reward them with that. So I put them at 6.
Jeremy?
Yeah, so I had Wascom at 10. I had Mountain Enterprise at 9. Those both stayed the same. Garrison at 8. I moved ARP down to 7, and then Jefferson went down to 6.
Okay. I think this top 5 was not super hard for me.
So real quick, and I'm not arguing it, Jeremy. I'm just curious because you do have a 2-loss team with Jefferson, right? And so that, and again, it's hurt my heart because Jefferson's a team that I had them ranked at the top. So just what's your kind of rationale there?
I think they were my preseason number 1 if I remember right. So, and again, I think the 1 point, I'm not hurting them over a 1 point loss to a really good Gladewater team. Yeah. I probably could have moved them farther down, but they look like they control most of the game. And so, I didn't get to see it. So that was really where I came from, was they were way at the top of mine.
Yeah.
And they were kind of up there. And so they were up there with Malakoff in the beginning. And so, I'm less familiar with the 3A, 2A world, right? Yeah. So this is a newer adventure in for me because I've been used to the 4A, 5A, 6A in because of legacy and my time there over the with Hubbard Middle School and some of that. We didn't spend a lot of time looking at any of the smaller schools back in that day,
Well, and their only other loss was against a really good Newton team, right? So there's something to be said for that.
So that was really it, and again, if I didn't have a poll from last week and I was starting all over, it would probably look very different, what I mean? And so I think that's the weird thing is how do you justify like where they were before to where you move them now? And, I think that's the fun and the heart of it, right? Is like, what do you do? Like if I could blow the thing up and start all over, it would look different, right? Elysian Fields would be much higher. Gladewater would be above Jefferson. You know what I mean? Some of those things that would happen that.
Well, you could
part of it is where the logistics.
You could just do what I did and just move Gladewater ahead of Jefferson.
That's true. I could.
I mean, I did.
I'm trying to be that guy that's giving them a little bit of motivation.
And I dropped Gladewater out, and then I brought him back in last week.
And I did that too.
And after seeing, because of course it helps to get to see those teams, right? I've seen them, and I saw the game against West Rusk, and that's a game they should have won. There's no question that they should have won that game. Now, West Rusk, hats off to Coach Mott, and they got the win, but there was multiple chances that they had to win that game, and so that's why I didn't have any concerns about moving them. I put them 1 spot ahead of Jefferson just because they've only lost 1 game. They probably should have won it. And they beat Jefferson. So I just went ahead and I don't mind skyrocketing the team up over some others, even if the others still won, if they make an impressive win to me. Like, I did the same thing with some of the teams in the other poll. If I see they're going to win, I'll move them up. I think it's one of the things I think that happens in the college polls and stuff all the time. Like you can be idle and don't lose, and a team has an impressive win, they can just shoot right up over you. Like, I think those wins matter, and who you beat matters. And if you lose to a bad team, I think that should penalize you more than losing to a good team.
Sure, and that's part of why I didn't hurt Art. I mean, it was a bad loss, but you also lost to a really, really good troop team. So it's like, I knocked them down 4 or 5 spots, but I didn't bury them because I still think they're going to be a really good team when it's all said and done.
Yeah. All right, let's talk top 5 here. Our top 5, Winsboro at 5, Frankston at 4, Lovelady 3, Troop 2, and Westwood at 1. I got this same 5 teams. I kept Winsboro still at 4 just because I still think I don't know what happened in that game, and I still think Winsboro's really and Frankston, I did move them up into the top 5, but I just couldn't quite move them ahead of Winsboro. I'm not sure that's could have gone either way there. But I think my top 3 Westwood, Troop, Lovelady are pretty solid there. I think those are the best 3 teams right now in this area in this bottom poll. Jaron, you're the small school guy. How off am I? Tell me.
No, say yours again.
I had Frankston, Winsboro, Lovelady, Troop, Westwood.
No, I mean, you and I are very similar. I have Winsboro at 5, Frankston at 4, Lovelady 3, Troop at 2, and Westwood at 1.
Well, that's how our final poll rankings came out. So you hit the top 5 on the head. That's the only thing I had different. Jeremy, how close are you? Are you on the same line?
I had the exact 5 in the exact order. So
okay.
I had Winsboro was my number 1 team. They started out, I think. So I said, I think Jefferson wasn't. They were in my top 3. I think Winsboro was my number 1 all along. I think I had number 2 was Westwood, and then I think I had Jefferson at 3. And so when they lost to Newton, I moved them a little, and then I moved them to 5, and then moved them one more anyway. But yeah, I had my 5 nailed exactly. So Winsboro went from my number 1 because they hadn't lost down to 5. And then Westwood slid into 1, Troop 2, Lovelady 3, and Frankston 4. So.
And they were in Castleberry either came out in that game or didn't play at all. So they were missing. Their bell cow. Winsboro was. Sorry, I didn't clarify that. Winsboro, and so that probably had a lot to do with it.
Well, it's interesting that top 5 is pretty consistent. I mean, that says a lot there. So here's another interesting point in this poll. KO and Brandon really punished ARP. They moved them to 15. What would be your argument about that? I don't know. I mean, he was there. Kyle was there, so he saw what happened. But moving them that far down to me is a little much.
Yeah, I think if you didn't see the game, right, and maybe they were ranked somewhere in the 6 to 10 range, maybe I could see you justifying throwing them all the way down to 15.
Well, he had them previously ranked 8, so maybe that's why. Yeah,
I mean, that's 7-spot drop. That's not horrible, but yeah, I don't know. I had them much higher than that, so that's why they didn't fall as far in mine. But it's an interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and it's probably going to be just the quality of wins, right? Like their best win probably is that 44-9 win over Garrison, which at week 2 was a really big deal, right? And then as the season's gone on, I mean, Garrison's still good; they're still in the poll, right? But and then the 35-8 win over Mineola, but I mean, you've got a 49-0 win over Harleton and a 61-0 win over Sabine, right? So that's probably played into some of that, right? Where when they really go up against top class competition in Troop, they laid an egg. So that probably played into their decision on that. I can't fault them for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to look and see what some other teams maybe. I'm still confused. We've got Jeremy Hubbard still voting for Malakoff in this poll. I'm not sure. Did they win this week? Maybe they won. I don't know.
I think they had a.
I was gonna say I think they were.
I think they were.
Did he even change his poll this week? Come on, Hubbard. Come on, Hubbard. Let's see. A team that got a vote was Grapeland. They got a win, so that's a team we could, be keeping an eye on there to sneak back in the poll. If they
hey, real quick on. I'm sorry, but on Malakoff, I will say they had a good win. Now they were off this week, but they had a good win against Grandview, right? Grandview's a really good team. And then you can't forget the week 1 win against West Rusk, and West Rusk is in the poll now, right? So I don't have them in my poll. I'm just saying it's not completely like crazy to have them floating around in that bottom spot.
There's too many teams that have won a lot of games to me right now that and they fell. I mean, I kept them in after 2 losses, but the 3rd loss this early it's just hard to keep a team in when they lose 3 out of the first 4 games.
Malakoff hasn't lost 3.
Yeah, they were 1-3 after last week.
Well, I'm looking at they're 2-2.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they lost. I'm pretty sure they lost to whatchamacallit that you were talking about.
Grandview? I don't think so.
They according to our deal, they had lost.
Yeah, according to Max Preps, and
Grandview's 2-0 on our deal, so they must have beaten them.
We about to.
Well,
So on here it says they lost 21-31.
That Malakoff lost to Grandview.
Yeah, it has them at 1-3.
Oh,
Meow.
that's why I was like, "There's no way they should be." We talked about that last week. There's no way they should be in the ball.
Dave Campbell's has a 21-31 loss from Grandview to Malakoff. So
Yeah.
yeah, Dave Campbell's has Grandview at 4-1.
Yeah. Well, they're 2-0 in ours because they've only played 2 games against East Texas teams.
Yeah,
so.
but I guess my point is that I mean it looks like Malakoff's only lost 2. And so, and then they've got their 2 wins are decent wins. Again, I don't have them on my poll. I'm just saying Coach Hubbard or whoever else has them at the bottom they're not just outer space.
I still think they shouldn't be in there. Yeah. They shouldn't be in there. But there's a lot of teams in this bottom that we could argue about all day long.
Then you got Jefferson. I mean, right? Jefferson's at 3-2.
Well, my thing, I was going by they were 1-3. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
So,
KO threw that score in, so I wonder if he just accidentally threw it in backwards for that Grandview Malakoff one.
Yeah, that was a KO. I mean, that's why I was like, it's in there. So,
I'll change it real quick because you can do that on the app and make it. So now it'll be right.
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I go by NETSN. I don't go by anyone else. There's not any other apps according to me. So, that's how. We just gotta get more users out there.
Yeah, gotta get it updated, right?
All right, let's do some picks, guys. Let's do some picks.
Hopefully these are easier than last week's because
man,
I can't afford another 5-pick week.
I've already made mine. I think they're a little easier.
Well, it was hard this week, so there's a lot of teams off, so there wasn't as many games to choose from. So I went with some games that I even went with some teams that maybe aren't doing as well, but it might be a good matchups. I tried at least.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. All right. Game 1. And these are all Friday. There's no Thursday games on the Pick'ems this week, so you do get an extra day to make sure you get them in. So don't forget, everyone. Game 1, Jefferson and Atlanta. Jefferson coming in 3-2, come off the loss to Gladewater, and then Atlanta at 4-1. I think Jefferson is going to be so angry. I think they're going to be ticked, and I would not want to be Atlanta this week. I think Jefferson gets the win. And I just think if it's any other week, maybe Atlanta has a better chance. But, man, Jefferson, they're about to be angry and mad. They just lost to Gladewater. And so I'm going with Jefferson. Jaron?
Yeah, I'm high on this Atlanta team, but I agree with you. I think Jefferson's going to be ticked off, and they're going to be nasty. They're going to be mad. And I think Atlanta's going to be caught in the crosshairs of just some really ticked off Bayou bullies. And so I've got Jefferson winning this game.
Jeremy?
Well, we might as well make it a clean sweep. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. But I think the fact that Jefferson took a loss in a game they probably will feel like they should have won, being up the way they were, I think they're going to be, like you said, I think they're going to be angry. I think they're going to go out to prove a point, and Atlanta just happens to be the one in the way of that point that they're trying to prove. And so, I think it's going to be a good game. Like, I think this Atlanta team's a really good team, but I think Jefferson, an angry Jefferson, is going to be the difference.
Yeah. Game 2, we got a little rivalry, private school style. Grace Community in Brook Hill. Jared, I'm gonna throw this one to you first because I just want to hear what you have to say about this game.
No, I am. I'm waving the navy and orange loud and proud this week.
Whoa!
Well, and here's the deal.
Where's the bar? Right across the top.
No, here's the deal. I hadn't seen Brook Hill in a couple of weeks, but seeing them early in the season, their line is just so good. And Grace, their offense is, I think it was named Braden Ingram or Braden Alexander. Yeah, that young running back. And that's just a hard defensive front to run through, And when I say Brook Hill's line on both sides of the ball, a lot of the guys play both ways. And so, I think it's just a hard defensive line to run through. And I just think it's more reps for Ryle. I don't know. And Grace escaped with one last year. Brook Hill hadn't forgot it. And so
Coach Hubbard hadn't forgot it either.
Coach Hubbard hadn't forgot, and he hadn't forgot my pick either for that week. And it's on, it's going to be there at Harrington. And so I just think it's going to be all Brook Hill. I really do.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm going to go guard on this one as well. And I think the other thing, unless it's changed, I think Grace is still running a freshman at quarterback. And it may have changed, but I know when I saw them before and I saw some highlights, it was a freshman playing quarterback. And, these are the kind of games that freshmen can struggle in, right? A big rivalry game. Sometimes they get a little bit too amped up, right? They get hyped for it, and sometimes they don't know how to manage that adrenaline burst that comes with those kind of games. And so I think the guard are going to be – I think the O-line and D-line of the guard is going to be too much for the Cougars to handle.
All right. And, man, y'all know I'm going with the guard, man. I'm going with my guard. I think they remember last year's game, the players that were there and the ones that weren't there. The players are going to tell them about it. That Brook Hill on the road should have beaten Grace last year. Mm-hmm. They dominated the game, minus a couple of plays that Grace was able to make and got the win, and it cost them later in the year a seed. And they want to play at home. And if they want to play at home, they need to win the rest of their district games. They've already gone through Regents. They've got Grace and Hyde Park the next 2 weeks is probably going to be their toughest competition. So they got to take care of business the next 2 weeks at home. And I think they're going to do it this week starting out. They're going to take care of Grace at home in a big game over there at Harrington Stadium. All right. Game 3, Union Grove and Elysian Fields, two teams we've talked about quite a bit here on the show so far. Jeremy, what are we thinking here? Union Grove, Elysian Fields. A big game here.
Yeah, Nunu says nah to those Union Grove guys coming in, and he's going to run wild, and I got Elysian Fields by double digits.
Okay. Darren, I have a feeling you're going to agree with him.
Yeah, I'm going all orange and black on this one. I'm telling you, I'm riding that Coach Main train as long as I can. I think he's just brought a spark to that team that's had talent. And again, I'm not saying they're going to just run the schedule, but I think at least this week, I'm not going. You said 3 scores, Jeremy?
I just said double digits by 10.
Double digits, yeah. I mean, I'd say probably 1.5 scores, right? Like a 10, yeah, maybe. But I got the Jackets.
All right. Yeah, I'm going with Legion Fields. I think they're the team right now to be. I think Wascom and Legion Fields, whenever that is later in the season, is going to be a great one for the district championship. I think Union Grove still has a chance in this district, but they're gonna have to. If they could steal one here, would be great. But they're gonna have to take care of business if they don't, and win some of those games coming down the stretch to get in. But man, again, this district is going to be so interesting. But Legion Fields, I think, is going to take this one. All right, game 4. Jaron, you're our Tatum expert.
Man, you know what I got to do.
And the Tatum Eagles.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Uh-oh.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Is that KO on the screen with Fly Eagles fly?
Yeah, no, I think, man, we didn't know what to expect with Tatum this year, right? The changes offensively. And, yeah, I mean, they had a tough loss against West Rusk. They rebounded with a big win over Sabine. And I just think they're just some scrappy athletes, right? Peoples is back, my kinfolk, my people. And he's just doing what he does on the defensive side. And I think it's going to be a great Tatum victory. And it's going to really help them in district.
Jeremy?
Yeah, give me Grant Adcock and the triple option all day, and I think it's going to be a tough thing for Liberty Ilo to stop, and so I expect Tatum to win this one. Again, I don't know that Liberty Ilo's record is indicative of their talent or their ability or where they're going to end up, but I think Tatum gets this win.
Well, then Liberty Ilo losing that guy right at the beginning of the season, I think really put them behind the 8 ball. So,
well, here's the deal, guys. I have seen Tatum this year, and just looking at the schedule of Liberty Ilo, I mean, we talked about tough schedule. I mentioned it earlier. They have played Pittsburgh in our top 15, Henderson in our top 15, Carthage, number 1 in our top 15. And then they played Bullard last week and got the win on the road. And Bullard is a 4A Division II team. I don't think that indicates how good Liberty Ilo is. Do I think they're as good as last year? No. Do they lost as much as Tatum did? No. Give me Liberty Ilo to get the win this week. I'm going to take Liberty Ilo. Game 5. Dangerfield and DeKalb. I've got to start with Jaron. I feel like this is like the upper East Texas, Northeast Texas game this week. So, Jaron, you should have a lot of good insight on this. We've talked about Dangerfield. They struggled. They've got up to 2-3 now. And then a DeKalb team. We know it's a big, close-knit rivalry up there. What are we thinking? DeKalb and Dangerfield?
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're seeing something very similar to last year, where Dangerfield started a little tough and then really started to kind of ramp up. Now, last year they lost this game 30-28 to DeKalb, okay, and then kind of went on their run for the rest of the district. I think they're going to get a head start on it this year. I think they're one step further, and so I think I've got Dangerfield defeating DeKalb. I think it's going to be a close one like last year was. 30-28, something in that realm, just flip-flopping. So I've got Dangerfield winning.
Jeremy, what do you got?
I think this is a tough one, right? Because you got Dangerfield lost to Gladewater, who we know is really, really good. They lost to PG, who we know is really, really good. And then they lost to Tatum, right? And we were at that one. And then on the other end with DeKalb, then you come over here, and they lost to Pittsburgh, who we think is really, really good. And they lost to Jefferson, who we think is pretty good, right? And then they have wins over Hughes Springs, Harmony, and Mineola, who we're not really as we don't have them in our polls. So, I mean, I think both teams there's not such thing as a quality loss, but they've lost to good opponents, right? So I think this one's a tough one. But I'm going to stick with DeKalb as the home team here. I'm going to go home team with the advantage here, and wouldn't be shocked if Dangerfield pulled off the win. But I think the home game is going to make the difference here.
So a split here. So I'm the deciding vote on this one. I've seen Dangerfield really rough against Tatum. They struggled all over the field. But again, the same thing last year. And Jaron pointed out they lost last year this game to DeKalb. So if I'm a player and I lose to a team that's not that far down the road from me the year before, I'm angry. I'm ticked off that I lost to them, especially a close game. So I'm gonna go with Dangerfield. I think they figure something out. Again, they always have the athletes, and so I'm gonna go with Dangerfield to get the win on the road. Next game, game 6, Ore City and Hawkins, another game in that district we've been talking about. Ore City, of course, they beat Big Sandy, Alba Golden, and Rivercrest. They lost to Hughes Springs and Wascom really bad. I think this is Hawkins. I think Hawkins gets the win here after letting that one slip away last week by 1 point. They're in a must-win situation, and Hawkins to me has been a little more impressive. They haven't beaten anybody extravagant, but they did play close to Union Grove, and the Elysian Fields team we know is really good. They were in that game in the second half. So I'm going to go with Hawkins to get the win in game 6. Jeremy, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go Hawkins as well. I think, for those reasons you said, and again, I think they're the better team. I think they've shown it. I think, you take back a 1 point loss, and that changes a lot of things. We'd probably be looking at this game completely different. So I'm going to go with Hawkins.
Aaron?
I think Coach Arnold's going to do a good job at Ore City. He's the one that kind of helped start that kind of Overton turnaround and then Coach Lemance was on his staff and then stepped in the head coach role, if I remember that right. I think he's going to do a good job there. He's a great coach, but I think they've still got a ways to go, and Hawkins is a competitive team. So, and you look at the wins that Ore City has. I mean, they're good wins. I mean, any win's a good win, right? But again, that they lost to a Hugh Springs team that really struggles, right? And then that loss against Wascom, which of course Wascom's good, but I mean that's pretty big beat down right there. So yeah, I'm going to go with Hawkins.
All right. Game 7. The battle for their first win. We got Hallsville. Somebody's got to get a win in this one. Hallsville and Jacksonville. Man, this is tough. Two teams that have really been struggling. I just looked down through their schedule. Hallsville, they played a competitive game against Lindale. I say competitive. It was 4 scores, but Lindale's a really good team in 4A Division 1. You got a close loss to Pine Tree, a little bit of a rivalry there. They only lost last week to Texas High by 23, which is interesting to me. I think they're farther along. Jacksonville, Coach Stevenson, I think he's going to do big things, but I just don't think it's there yet. So I'm going to take Hallsville in this one to get the win. What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I love Coach Stevenson. Like, I just love the energy he brings, right? Like, we've talked about it, I think, every week. And, I think the hard thing is getting that energy and that transferred over to the students, right? And I think it takes time, and especially when you've had the adversity that seemingly come out of Jacksonville the last few years, and it's weird because you feel like they always have talent. When we played them at the middle school level, like, they always had some dudes, but it just hasn't quite translated at that next level. It's been a few years. And so I think Hallsville is just a little bit farther along than Jacksonville. But, man, nothing would make me happier for me to be wrong in this pick and have Jacksonville win it. Like, and that's nothing against Hallsville, but just Jacksonville is just right down the road. And like I said, Coach Stevenson, his energy is infectious, and I think it's going to make a difference. I just think it's probably another year before they see the fruits of that labor.
All right, Jaron.
Flipping the coin. Here we go. Hallsville. All right. I think it could go either way. Be happy for either team to get their first win. You enjoy seeing that. When a team gets their first win this season, to get that monkey off their back. I think they're two teams in very similar situations. Hallsville's just had their coach a little longer. Coach Stevenson's still getting things kind of turned around there, and so I'm just going to give a slightest edge to Hallsville on this one.
Okay. Game 8, Marshall and Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant got their first win last week against White House. So I think this could be a game for a home playoff game. That's very possible because in 5A they top 2 play home playoff games. So a big game going to be in Mount Pleasant. Jaron, you've seen Marshall in person. What are you thinking about this one?
Yeah, Marshall got some dudes. They got some athletes. That quarterback for them, Henderson, I think that's his name, Henderson. Man, he is fast. He is good. They've got some guys on defense, and so some really good guys on defense. I've got Marshall on this one.
All right, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm going to go Marshall as well. And I think Mount Pleasant's a little bit better than their record, but it's hard to pick a 1-4 team over a 3-1 team, right? And a team that we have in our poll. And I think Marshall. I think the Mavericks get this one.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I've got Marshall in this game. I think it's going to be a tall task for Mount Pleasant to get the win. I think it may be a closer game than maybe we might think. I think Mount Pleasant is much improved. But Marshall, as long as they come in and take care of business, I don't think they'll have any trouble with it.
Yeah, I'm going 3 scores on it. I just Marshall's got some dudes.
I just said closer than we think. I didn't say close. I just think
that's a relative,
right? It's relative.
Yeah, Mount Pleasant, as you look at their 1-4 versus 3-1, I think you lean to say, okay, well, Mount Pleasant's going to get blown out. It is at home in Mount Pleasant, so that'll be a help for them. And so I think it'll be closer than you think. I don't think it's going to be like, last minute touchdown pass to win or anything, but several scores, I think. But I don't see them like getting beat like 35-0 or anything like that.
And I tell you what I don't know if you guys have seen on social media and stuff, the little dance thing that got going on at Marshall. They do this big post game dance now that, when they win, the band comes over, plays the game. It's just, and they've got something kind of, Coach Hammond, I think, is doing a really, really good job. And there's something brewing there. I mean, they've, and that's a program that has some pedigree, right? And so I think, I wouldn't be surprised if they, end up number 2 in this district and maybe even make a play against Texas High. So.
Well, and that score from that we just mentioned, the Hallsville score, against Texas High, it's kind of, it's interesting. Is Texas High as good as they've been in the past? They've kind of been a little bit more, I guess, a little bit separated out against the rest of the district.
Yeah,
maybe it's a little closer when that game comes around. We'll see. All right, game 9, Quitman and Edgewood. Darren, what do you think here? Quitman, Edgewood, who you got?
I mean, Coach Bachtel's back in his roots, back in his where he's comfortable. I just think in Quitman, I mean, they've probably gotten off to one of the better. They're sitting at 2-3, right?
2-3, yeah.
Yeah, which is one of the pretty good little start for the Bulldogs there. But I'm going with Edgewood. I just think, again, Coach Boxell's back kind of in his home turf, and they've got talent. We know that. They seem to they compete in everything they do, whether it's baseball, whether it's girls basketball, or it's football. So
how about chess? Do they have chess there?
I don't know, but they're probably pretty good at it. I mean, they're just they got some athletes up there. So I've got Edgewood winning this game.
Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, battle of the Bulldogs, but I'm going to go with the Edgewood Bulldogs for the win in this one as well. I think home game, and I think they're just a little bit further along, and we got to cover them a little bit in baseball last year, and they have some athletes, and I think that translates, and so I think they take the win.
Yeah, think about it. They had a week 1 win against who?
Yeah, I was
Commerce. Sorry.
I had my whole spiel here.
You had it, dude. Sorry.
But what I was going to say was, before I was rudely interrupted by is I look at Edgewood's schedule and I see what they've done. They've got their 3-2. We just saw what Winsboro, who they got beat by. Commerce, a big win week 1 against Commerce. That's Commerce's only loss. And I look at the schedule that they have played. Commerce, they played a tough schedule. So I think that win for Edgewood says a whole lot to me. They also played Troop to a 12-point game, which how high is Troop in our poll? 2. Okay. So maybe Edgewood's a team that we may need to consider in our polls, guys, because I kind of undersold how well they played. I don't know how good Palmer is as their loss. I'm not familiar with Palmer.
No, Palmer's good. That's who, I saw them last year. I did that Winsboro Palmer playoff game, and that was 2 or 3 rounds in. So Palmer's a good team. So
a game that maybe down the road, I know this is not the pick'ems, but down the road, Grand Saline versus Edgewood will be a game to watch later in the season, kind of see where Edgewood sits.
Yeah.
But I'm going with Edgewood too. What you guys said, and I think Edgewood right now is a team that kind of quietly making a 3-2 run here, and we haven't really mentioned them much. The team that we may need to start looking at.
Yeah, and I've got and just to look at Palmer's schedule real quick, they're 5-0, and they've got a big 45-38 win over Grand Saline, in week 2 of the season. So I think we maybe missed out on Edgewood. I think you're right. We probably need to get them in there.
All right. Game 10. We've got Kilgore and Henderson. We've got a guy here in the group that's going to be on the call for that one. Jaron, you're going to be in Henderson for that Kilgore Henderson game. How pumped are you to be in the booth for that one? That's going to be one of the bigger games of the week.
Man, you finally let me. I love my small school. I love calling small school ball. But it's nice every now and then to dip my toe in the 4A, 5A waters, and there's not a better one to dip my toe in and do that with. I mean, for one, you've called in that Henderson press box. It's supposed to be really nice, which is with some of the setups I've had the last few weeks. I'm looking really forward to that. I don't think I'll have to put my health and safety at risk, and with some of the climbs I've had to do lately. But no, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be electric. Henderson's riding high. They are excited. Kilgore's obviously, like we said earlier, Jeremy, Kilgore's going to Kilgore. I think it's going to be an insane atmosphere. I think it's going to be crazy. It's going to get chippy. It's going to get a little nasty, but I've got Kilgore.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to just kind of sneaking in and watching this one while we've got the game we're calling, probably having that one on the side screen and peeking over. I've got Kilgore. I don't want to leave a lot of suspense here, but I think Henderson is going to make this a much better game than we probably thought they would have coming into this season, right? I think before we watched it, before we saw what Coach Meeks has done, I think this would have been like a very lopsided pick. This would have been very, you know what I mean? If you just asked people ahead of the season, said, hey, this matchup, I think if we looked at the pick'ems, it would have been way in the favor of Kilgore, and it may still be, but I think people are at least noticing this Henderson team and seeing what they're capable of. And I think they've gotten a lot of respect around the area. I think if you ask the coaches and different people, I think that this is a team on the rise, and they're going to make this a better game than I think we think it will be. But we might have earlier.
And I will say, if Henderson wins this game, I am super pumped for Coach Meeks, right? Like I'm picking Kilgore, but if Henderson wins this game, I'm applauding Coach Meeks and really happy for him.
I think this could have a lot of points, Jaron. I think this could be, with what Henderson does on offense, I think it could be a shootout. And I think that's to see them play. They like up tempo. If they find something that they like, they'll run to the line and keep that defensive set on the field that they like, and they'll up pace it. So I think this could be very high scoring. But yeah, I just think Kilgore, man, and what they do, it's going to be a battle for Henderson. I think it's an uphill battle, but I'm pulling for Coach Meeks. I hope they play well and would get the win. That would be an awesome win for him and his program. But in my pickings, I'm trying to go for what I think that the odds are. And I think the odds of Kilgore winning are a little higher than Henderson. So I'm going with the Kilgore Bulldogs on that one.
Yeah, so. And I think the game's going to come down to the Henderson O-line versus that Kilgore D-line, right? Can Henderson's O-line slow them down or control them? And if they can, then they've got a really good shot at winning this. But that's a tall ask, right? That's a big mountain to climb. But I think that's the key.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We know they're probably not putting up 50 points like they've been putting up, right? I mean, but if you get 20, 24, 30, against this Kilgore defense, then we'll see what you got. But I mean, I think you're right on, Jeremy. I think that matchup up front, particularly for the Henderson offensive line and that Kilgore defensive front, which to me, their defensive front and Lindale's defensive front's the best, front four in all of East Texas, right? Lindale's front four and Henderson's and Kilgore's front four. So, yeah, I think that's going to be the matchup to watch.
Well, those are the pick'em games. Let's see. Let's go through some other ones. I know Jeremy and I will be in Palestine for the Chapel Hill and Palestine game.
I would not want to be Palestine on Friday night. I can just tell you that. I have a feeling that this one might be one of those that you're gonna have to bring your extra set of pads because you might get. I mean, it's just gonna be rough. I think Chapel Hill is going to come out and make a statement that loss last week was not who we are, and no matter who it was, you would not want to be Chapel Hill's next opponent, right? And,
no, not
and
at all.
For Palestine, that's a tough one to go to.
Well, and I'm excited because we are going to be in a pretty nice setup. We know our setup, Jeremy. There, Coach Reyes and that group's going to take care of us. I'm not sure what the buffet line will be like, but it'll have some kind of nice setup for us. So I'm excited to do that one. I've also got your dad a nice thing to sit on and put his chair on for the camera down low. So he won't be in feel like he's going to be falling out of a chair this time.
We won't have to call oh no, I just want to play OSHA. We won't have to give OSHA a ring about any kind of setup issues. So.
Not at all. We're not gonna have any of that. So
That's good.
That'd be interesting. But I think there's probably some other games. Let's see. Jaron, what about Carthage with San Benito, a 6A? So I know it's the biggest powerhouse, but the size and all that with the number of kids, does that make any difference with Carthage?
No. I mean, this is just a hard game. If you remember how this game came about, Carthage was just having a hard time finding, an opponent for this week, right? And so they had to go to darn near San Antonio to find it. And they're meeting halfway, at Bay City. It's Carthage's game. It's going to be probably a 40-point game. I don't think there's going to be. They're not going to say. They're going to, they're going to say, hey, we're going to go play the game, But I think it's going to be a big win for Carthage, and hopefully, once realignment and schedule redo, this coming spring, hopefully they can get some, a non-district opponent a little closer. So.
Yeah, that's a tough one just to have to schedule. Of course, we got White House traveling up to Grimm Park and Texas High. Our guys will be traveling up for that one.
That's a tough place to play, dude.
It's a tough place to
play.
Yeah. Those bleachers, like those guys better get their running shoes on, and they might need a lift.
And there ain't no parking either, right? There ain't no parking.
No parking.
Yeah,
and then that is a steep climb. I think it's about as steep as you can get without needing a ladder. Without it being called a ladder. It's up there, but it's a beautiful field. It's a beautiful stadium, but it is a steep walk up to the press box.
Man, just kind of scrolling through. Mount Enterprise is playing Cushing this week, a team that we've been watching that for. Mount Enterprise, off to a good start. See, we've got. We mentioned the Quitman Edgewood game already. Winsboro's got Mineola. Mineola better watch out. I think Winsboro might be angry as well. That could be a big win for Winsboro there. I wouldn't want to be them. There's not a lot of games like we talked about. It's a lot of buys this week. Pine Tree and Maybank. That's the other game out of the district that we're not covering. Pine Tree looking to bounce back and get a win. Maybank's looking to bounce out of this district next realignment, I imagine. Just saying. Darren, you got something?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the North Forney Falcons. They're going to be taking on Tyler Legacy this week. North Forney, I used to call. I broadcasted North Forney for a year. The guy that's calling them now is a guy named Wally. I commentated with him back when I was there. And Coach Shavers and that crew, they're doing a great job. They had a big win over rival Forney this last week, and that's always a tough, particularly in football, a tough matchup. Forney, regular Forney is a real historic program. It's been around a long time, and North Forney, a relatively new school. They've got their own stadium now, I know they're coming to play, Tyler School, right? But they're having a great start to the year, and so shout out to the North Forney Falcons as they come and take on the Legacy Raiders. I think that'll be a fun game, and we'll see what ARP does. They'll be taking on Buffalo. That's a game that we did last year. I don't think we're doing that this year, but
that's going to be they're going to be mad. They might be taking some what is it that you shoot the buffalo with
You going with the longbow there?
Longbow. Yeah. So that's going to be I don't know if I'd want to be Buffalo. That's another one that's going to be not having some fun practice this week. I bet Coach Minky and his staff are going to have them shaped up for this coming week. I had a feeling.
And my last one is this Rockwall and Longview matchup. Rockwall, they're sitting at 3-2, but they have a huge win that over North Crowley a couple of weeks ago, right? That really kind of caught some attention. Then they beat a Roy City team that was definitely improving. And they're coming in to take on a Longview team that, as we talked about earlier, they're struggling a little bit to their standard, right? So I think that's going to be a real interesting one to watch. If we're going to when's the last time we saw Longview fall 2-3? I don't know. And so I'm not saying they will, but I think that'll be a fun game.
What about Malakoff
did
and
y'all-
Commerce? Guys,
yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting one. We just saw Commerce knock off Winsboro, and then you got their go take on Malakoff this week. That should be an interesting matchup there.
This is not East Texas, but I think y'all, we all saw that, Waxahachie goes out and beats Duncanville for their first regular season loss in a long time. And then I think they went out this week, and I think they had like less than 15 total yards in their game, and Waxahachie just got blown out. So they went from the high of a huge win to and I think they made it into the state top 10, and then they will make the quickest exit out of it.
Well, and you had North Crowley and Duncanville both losing, that same week. It was kind of a shocker, right? So.
I think it's just the way the season's been so far. There's just been some crazy outcomes, some things we didn't expect. There's some that they're kind of trucking along like normal, but we've seen some crazy, like one week, like, oh, this team, and we move them up, and then like, oh, the next week they, come out and lay an egg. It's just kind of, I feel like that the parity this year, there's a lot of parity. Like anybody can beat anybody any week, at least a lot of these games. I think it's what makes the pick'em so fun.
Another fun one, Como Picton and Honeygrove, both teams coming in at 4-1. That's a big game. I don't have Honeygrove in my poll, but they're close, and so I think that'll be a good game for them to kind of see where they fall as we move forward.
Well, and that one's strange, man, because Como's really struggled for a lot of years now, and they've kind of really turned some heads. Now that's a tall order against Honey Grove, right? I mean that. And
that's Dig's favorite small school team.
Yeah. Well, and then so Honey Grove, that's I'm from that area, and so Coach Little, the new coach at Honey Grove, and he was a guy that was at Harleton for so long and done well there, and he went over into Honey Grove, and they installed a totally new offense, right? And so it's taken a little bit for them to kind of get the hang of it, but they're starting to hit their stride. So I think they're going to kind of ride into the playoffs and make a deep run. So as excited as I am for Como Picton's turnaround, and a pretty lax schedule, if you would. But I mean, 4-1's 4-1, right? But I think it's going to be a brick wall once it hit Honey Grove.
Then you got Paris and Frisco Panther Creek at 4-1 both. That'll be a big game for Paris, and kind of see where they stand, because that Panther Creek team is pretty solid. And so
Paris kind of surprisingly put it on White House a few weeks ago. I mean, I think of course that district is so tough.
Yeah,
you're really fighting for fourth if you're Paris, I would imagine, because you've got Salina, Sulphur Springs, Panther Creek. That's just tough district. I think it's similar to the 9A district, or the 9A, District 9 down here with Kilgore, Chapel Hill, Lindale, and Henderson. You've got a really tough top load there, and so those two districts are probably the toughest 4A Division I districts in the state.
Just trying to get to the dance, right? Just
trying
to get to the dance, trying to punch the ticket.
Because they're probably their first round game will probably be easier than any of those games. Honestly, any of the teams they play, I don't remember exactly who they line up with, but I would guess to say it's probably not going to be anyone tougher than the three teams ahead of them. So Paris, even if they're able to get in at that 4 spot, they have a chance to at least get through round 1. So, all right. Well, any final thoughts before we close out tonight, gentlemen, about this week and how have the seasons gone so far? We'll start with you, Jaron.
Yeah, one game I didn't mention at 1-2, Overton at Tenaha. Overton, had a tough homecoming loss. Tenaha's, a little down this year. It's that Saturday game. They usually play on the Saturday. And I think it's going to be a good opportunity for Overton to get back to their winning ways in district, and because they're going to have a tough, their district's not for a slouch, right? And so this will be a good game to kind of recorrect for Coach Layman's and company. And so I wanted to mention that game. And just man, excited for that game. I'll be at Friday night. Jeremy Titsworth and I, we were talking about it last week. A lot of the games we've been at pretty much every game we've been at, except for the Carlisle Overton game, which is a 10-point game. Every game we've been at has been kind of blowout games. And so we're excited. Looking forward to one that I think is going to be competitive. And
so if you want your team to get a blowout, just book Jaron and
yeah, holler, we're your boys. But no, we're excited, and it's going to be fun.
Jeremy, what about you?
Yeah, and I would say the opposite for us, right? If you want a tight battle, other than last week, we pretty much had all the crazy 1.5 point, wild. I mean, last week was a wild one and a difference, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm just looking forward to another week of high school football, and I think it's been a fun ride, and it's been a quick ride so far, and I'm excited to kind of see what things shake out as we move forward. And again, as districts play really just starts kicking off big time, this is that point where you can really make some noise. And these teams maybe we've counted out a little bit can say to us, not so fast. Like our again, it's the non-district doesn't necessarily matter that much, right? It's what happens in those district games. And so there are teams that we may be overlooking that are going to come out and make a big statement and punch somebody in the mouth and get a big win, and then we go, oh man, this team, okay.
Well, and our fun little disputes in the polls, I think some of those are going to be resolved, in the coming weeks, right?
Well, and they always do. They always resolve themselves.
Yeah. But you got some good head-to-heads, right? You got some good head-to-heads on, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and so I think our polls are probably going to start looking a whole lot more similar, in the coming weeks, and we'll, as we start eyeing playoff seedings and stuff, right? And so,
and I think it really helps that we get out and get to see. All these teams, we talked about just being able to cover so many different teams, and it helps to, like, when you can see a team in person, you can actually see, like, for instance, if you weren't at the game of West Rusk and Gladewater, West Rusk gets a big win, but you didn't see the rest of the things that happened during the game, and if you don't see the Chapel Hill Lindale game, you probably didn't know that. I mean, yeah, Lindale played excellent, but Chapel Hill didn't. They just made some bad mistakes. And so some of those scores and some of the ways that the games have gone, if you don't get to see that, it's hard to tell. And so I think that's why we've got a neat perspective. We all don't get to see every game because we're at different games, but we can go back and watch them for free on our network and get to kind of see how those actually games went, and how the game itself went, because it really makes a difference. Because if you don't see the actual, you just look at the score. That's why I'm so curious about the ARP and Troop one. And you said KO said that Troop just played well, and that tells me, well, maybe ARP didn't turn over 8 times. Like we had the Frankson game, they barely won. We're like, oh, they just won at the very end. Well, they turned the ball over 8 times. Well, if you don't know that, then you just assume that they played a close game. They really dominated the game, made a lot of mistakes. And so I think that's the nice thing that we get to do, is we get to see a lot of these teams, and kind of by the end of the season, we kind of know. And I think, like you said, Jaron, I think it will. Our polls will start to line up, because there'll be a few teams that I had high that maybe start losing, and then a few teams that you had high may start losing, and they'll just even themselves out. So that's what makes it fun.
And I also want to mention, man, we had a great week of viewership, and it was just, it's not quite our top one of the season yet, but for a week that didn't have a ton of games, our games did really well. So thanks so much to all our viewers and watchers. It's cool. You go on Smokey, you go on some of these forums, and people are posting our lineups, what we're doing. I mean, it's so fun to see our network continue to grow and be kind of a hot spot in East Texas for these ball games. And so, we couldn't do it without the viewers, right? And just the numbers that we're getting this season. I mean, y'all's guys' numbers, that Chapel Hill Lindale game, a game that was covered by a few different media outlets, was just incredible, right? And so it's just a testament to a lot of different things, and part of that is that we just got some great football teams and great communities here in East Texas. And so big thanks to all our viewers and for sharing it and for getting the links out. It's been great.
And just so,
yeah, I think sponsors too, right? I mean, thanks to those teams, those companies that sponsor that. And, Brett and I were talking, like we had Chapel Hill Lindale, and then this week we have Chapel Hill Palestine, and then next week we have Lindale Palestine, right? So we're going to hit those 2 schools, twice in 3 weeks. And so, I think that helps as well. And, you're right, though. We couldn't do what we do without the people that watch, and we couldn't do what we do without great businesses that sponsor what we do and allow us to provide those, YouTube views for free, right? And our app for free, and those things that we take care of because of just some really awesome businesses that help us out. And, it's always room for more because that allows us to broadcast what we do to more people.
Yeah. And just to re-go over the games that we will be at, we'll have Grace and Brook Hill. Jeremy and Chad will be on the call for that one. Larry will be in Timpson, where the Timpson Bears will host Hooks. We have Beckville and Big Sandy. I believe Keith and Jason will be there. Jeremy and I will be in Palestine for the Chapel Hill White House game. Jaron mentioned he'll be in Henderson for Kilgore Henderson. And then the White House guys, Josh will be back from his sabbatical from Hawaii, and he'll join Chris. And they'll travel. They'll travel.
What a rough life.
I know. Travel up to Texas High. White House will take their turn against the Texas High Tigers, and so 6 games on Friday. No Thursday games this week. There wasn't any games this week, but still a strong 6-game Friday lineup.
I've been looking to see if any games have switched. Nothing yet, and so but we'll start seeing some Thursday games next week. And I'm going to just spoiler alert. One that I'm super pumped to be at is one that wasn't on our schedule, but I was like, Rep, please let's add this one. Is Frankston and Mildred. I think it's going to be a fun game. And so I'm excited for that one. So I know I'm jumping ahead a week, but
hey, it's okay. I'm excited also for next Thursday.
You've got a pretty good one too.
I get to see the number 1 team in our poll, our small poll number 1. I'll get to see them.
So not to skate past this week, but I am excited for next week. I think we got some
see what happens, games. Jeremy. I give him a big school game. He's already looking forward to the little school game.
Go back to my
2. Some guys, you give them the world and they want more.
Good point. Touche.
That's going to do it for tonight's episode. Beast from the East. For Jaron Peoples, Jeremy Diamond, I'm Mr. NETSN, Brett Swinney, signing off for the evening. Good luck with your picks, your teams, your pick'ems. And we'll catch you next week right here on NETSN. Good night, everybody.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at NETSN.